Welcome to the regularly scheduled public meeting of July 15, 2019 of the Township of Washington Township Council. Adequate notice of the meeting was given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by the Township Clerk to at least 2 newspapers in January, and this notice has been posted on the Township Bulletin Board and on the Township website. Please notify the Township Clerk for any disability requirements necessary for attendance at mayor and council meetings. The fire exits are located through the double doors to your right and through the door on your left. Please silence all cell phones. Would everyone please stand for a salute to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Roll call.
Councilman Bruno? Councilman Casio?
Here.
Councilman Cumming?
Here.
Councilman Ullman?
Here.
Council President DeSena?
Here. Let the record reflect also in attendance Mayor Peter Calamari, Township Administrator Robert Tovo, Township Attorney Kenneth Poller, CFO Judy Curran, Township Clerk Susan Wachowski, and Borough Engineer John Yakimic. Mr. Mayor, you have an appointment you'd like to make?
I do, yes, thank you. To the Council President and Council of the Township of Washington, regarding an appointment of a municipal judge, please be advised that I am respectfully submitting the following citizen for the position set forth below, subject to your advice and consent. The Honorable Anthony N. Galena, for a term expiring 12/31/19.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
229, yep.
Resolution number 19-229, appointment of Honorable Judge Anthony N. Galena as municipal judge for the unexpired vacancy term expiring December 31st, 2019.
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Getting stuck. Yeah, my mouse is getting stuck.
Hold on, we got a
I'm sorry.
technical difficulty.
No, just a little. Councilman Bruno? Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Mayor's appointments.
Excuse me just one second. The judge is here tonight, so I'd just like to recognize him and thank you for coming on board.
Swear him in? You want to swear him in really quick? Oh, you want to swear him in?
No, I think the assignment judge swears in the municipal judge.
See him on a professional basis.
I think so, from what I understand.
Okay.
Okay. I was ready.
Mr. Mayor, you have one more other appointment you'd like to make?
I do, thank you again. To the Council President and the Council of the Township of Washington, please be advised that I am respectfully submitting the following citizen for the position set forth below, subject to your advice and consent. The Honorable Richard J. Brady, term expiring 12/31/19.
As an alternate municipal judge?
Alternate, sorry about that, yes.
Just a question, not that I have a question about Mr. Brady, but why did the council have to consent to the judge but not the alternate? Just out of curiosity.
The municipal judge, well, you just have the appointment, you have the consent. Never, there really isn't a position for alternate per se that's covered by statute in our code. You can appoint, you can have an alternate, so it wasn't a position that they put a resolution on for.
Okay. Thank you.
Reading a total list of bills as of July 12, 2019.
The following is the list of bills paid since the last bill list was submitted, representing June 1st, 2019 through July 12th, 2019. Total 2018 reserve, $19,776.61. Total 2019 current, $3,797,667.92. Total capital fund, $39,942.50. Total animal control, $55.80. Total grant fund, $39,857.50. Total trust fund, $3,663.94. Total escrow trust, $48,362.92,
Thank you.
I had a few questions. On page 4.
Page 4.
Two items from the bottom. two lines, the Delta plan. I see we have Delta retirees, and then I was looking at the user-friendly budget for the health benefits,
Okay?
and we're not reflecting the retiree coverage nor their cost-sharing contribution, which I assume there is no cost to the township for the retiree benefit.
Right, it's a wash, that's why it's not included.
So can we, just as we do above with active employees, show it gross on the expense side, and the retirees are paying, so that, I guess that, I would reflect that as a negative in the schedule, so we could show that. The other question is, do we have what is our policy on retiree benefits? Because it seems very few, if any, do take advantage. Can anyone take advantage, or?
I understand, I could be wrong, I don't know, but I'm understanding, I think there are a few people were allowed to in the past, I don't know if it's going to continue, is that right?
That's what I was told last year, Mr. Alderman, is that it's no longer available, but the ones that did participate can continue until they decide not to continue, is
And do
what the answer was last year.
Do we know if that's as part of, is there a documented policy on that in the handbook?
Not that I've come across as of yet. Just started my rewrite of it, so haven't got to that chapter.
If we do, if that is in fact the case, can we make that clear in the benefits or retiree portion?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Page 7, at the very top, do we know if we made a claim on JIF for the repairs for these fences, especially the ones that were destroyed by the tree?
All the repairs are below our deductible, which is $2,000.
Okay. On the same page, the Action Data Services, there are payroll reports that are generated. I guess we also pay a fee, or is this the fee for our payroll services? Or is this over and above for a special report? Based on the description, it's not clear if we're doing something over and above that we're paying for.
Can we check that get back there? I'm not sure either, looking at that.
Okay. Page 10, check number 37632 for advanced electrical. Upgrade to Borough Hall lighting. I guess I was just wondering what that is, considering there was a large exercise undertaken by Mr. Cumming.
I'm sorry, Mr. Cummings to respond. I saw this too. I believe it's not captured correctly. We have issues with our HVAC working properly and the thermostats triggering as they should, and that was the work they were in for.
And that would not be part of the HVAC work that was done as part of the energy program, or?
It was not. They're the existing thermostats that needed service and repair.
Okay, thank you.
Just staying on that for a minute, couldn't we use the money that's left from the reserve for the building itself for any kind of upgrades for the building? Can't we still use that? There's about $26,000 left,
We can still use that.
but we took it, this came out of the current fund?
This did, yes.
Can you
Oh,
reclass?
you're referring to the capital funds that are aside?
No, this was the municipal insurance. There was $280,000. We used a lot of the money for the renovations. We still have about $26,000 left.
The trust reserve.
Yes, this is trust reserve.
Class or?
Yeah, I guess we can look at reclassing that.
Page 11, check 37642. Boswell Engineering for Washington and Pascack. Shouldn't we be charging this to the capital project?
That should be, that's an error.
Okay.
That is ridiculous.
The next line, the TA, we're making a payment to the Borough of Saddle River. We're not paying her salary, we're paying Saddle River?
Our current TA had a week of vacation, And without a deputy TA or assistant, we wanted the position filled for that week, and they offered the service of one of their employees.
Okay, so
So we
we,
paid the salaries for that week.
all right. So this is a one-time.
That is, yes.
Okay, thank you. Almost done, sorry. Page 26, I think it is, if I could read it. Check 37736 for a portable basketball net. So I guess we're at Bethany, which I assume has a basketball court, and we're across the street from Memorial, which also has a basketball court. So do we know why we're paying for portable basketball nets?
I will check with the rec director on that and let you know.
Page 31 through 32, we're paying, it looks like, repairs out of a trust fund. Is that
Page 31?
page 31 on the bottom? We're paying to the Borough of Paramus. I'm assuming these are some types of repairs out of donations.
That's a donation fund that the police department has. Why it would be used for that, we'll have to look into.
I didn't hear the last
The
part.
police have a donation account, and
Yes.
that's usually for extra items normally not budgeted for. So I don't know why this item was classed there. So
Was
we'll
this
find
used
out.
for the military vehicle, to put the lettering and everything on the military vehicle? And they
Could
did
be.
it on their own?
Could be.
Is it possible to get an answer on that, or?
Yeah.
follow? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. That's it for me.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Anything else on the bills? Approval of minutes, closed session minutes, April 2nd, 2018. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And as I stated, next to the one for April 2nd, Councilman Ullman, you were not present, and on June 17, 2019, Councilman Casio, you were not. So those are spots that you cannot vote on.
Okay.
Council-
Roll call?
Sorry. Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Abstain?
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Closed session minutes, May 7th, 2018. Closed session minutes, May 21st, 2018. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Closed session minutes, June 17th, 2019. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second. Second.
Mr. Bruno seconds it.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Abstain.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes.
Thank you.
This time we'll have the report of the mayor.
Thank you, Mike. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for turning out. The intersection and road program for 2019, I'm happy we have John Yakimic here from Boswell Engineering this evening, who will give us a first-hand status on those two topics. It was a pleasure to be invited to and attend the high school graduation ceremony. Unfortunately, the weather didn't cooperate, so the ceremony had to be moved indoors, but that didn't put a damper on the enthusiasm of the graduates and their friends and family. We wish them the best in their future endeavors. Summer concerts. We had the band Asbury Fever play for our entertainment last Friday. The weather was perfect and a good time was had by everyone in attendance. Please come out this Friday for our final concert of 2019. The band is Rubik's Cube, the popular 80s tribute band. We want to thank the people at Bethany Community Center for allowing us to use their parking lot for these events. It's always a pleasure working with the members of the fire department to make these concerts and other events happen, like their annual car show and Easter egg hunt, to name a couple. They're always there to support the town. Please show them how much they are appreciated in return. The next paper shredding and e-cycling event will take place this Saturday, July 20th, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. in the Town Hall parking lot. Town Hall summer hours. New summer hours went into effect July 8th and run through Labor Day, September 2nd. The new hours are as follows: Monday, 8:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. and Fridays, 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. The new hours pertain to the clerk, tax collector, building, planning, and zoning departments. Our summer rec program is at the halfway point and is having a tremendous year. We're receiving very positive comments from the parents of the children. The number of participants has gone from 130 in 2016 to over 450 this year. I'd like to mention a few of the highlights of this year's program. They now coordinate 12 trips, all fully sold out, with wait lists for more attendees. 50 to 75 campers per day are sent to the Township pool 4 days a week. Every Wednesday, they have a Township fire truck wet down. Again, we thank the department and the members that take the time to make this happen. The counselor to camper ratio has gone from over 10 to 1 to a safer 7 to 1 ratio. The counselors have all been EpiPen trained, and we now have 5 New Jersey certified educators on the staff that are CPR and first aid trained. Again, we want to thank Bethany Center for opening their facilities to the program. It's great for the participants to have an air-conditioned place to go for lunch, breaks, and days with inclement weather. I want to thank leader and coordinator Chris Pinto and his staff of counselors for all the work they put in to make the program such a success. Junior Police Academy. Under the direction of Detective Heather Castronova and with the help of many of her fellow officers, the department ran another great program with their counterparts from Emerson and Westwood. It's hard to imagine that this was year 19 of the program. Who would have thought way back then it would last this long and keep getting better with every year? Probably not a coincidence with Heather leading the program, but this year had the most female recruits ever. The program wishes to thank the Attorney General's Office, the Bergen County Sheriff Anthony Cureton, Paramus Police Chief Ken Ehrenberg, and everyone else for their support. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Report of the council, Mr. Ullman.
No report. We have a full agenda.
Thank you. Mr. Cummings?
In the interest of the full agenda, I'll only mention that we lost one of our residents. Bernard Gola was a Holocaust survivor and Auschwitz survivor. He had the number on the arm and the whole thing. He was orphaned by his father passing of cancer. His father was 29. He went to live with the grandparents. He was one of our honored residents of Northgate. He's a good man.
Thank you, Mr.
And
Cummings.
just to say, in case everyone doesn't realize, because there was already a little confusion up here, I'm happy to say it is not Bernie Golick, who many of you know. It's Bernie
Gola.
Yes, so just wanted to make sure everyone understood that.
Thank you.
But a very nice man nonetheless.
Thank you. Mr. Bruno?
No report, thank you.
Dr. Cascio?
No report from me, Mr. President.
Just a couple quick statements. It was an honor to be invited and attend the Junior Police Academy graduation ceremony. It made me proud to be there, to say I live in the township and we run this great program for our children. The summer concert, the first one was great. Mr. Cumming, the grass looked great.
Thank you.
I got down on my knees. I have a picture on grass level for you. It looks great. The Bethany Summer Camp, my son is one of the counselors, and he can't say enough about it, having gone through the program all the years as a youngster and now being a camp counselor. He thinks it's a great addition to be at the Bethany. It's a real improvement. So thank you for everybody up here in the mayor and everybody doing their hard work to make this happen. That's all I have at this time in the interest of time. At this time, I'd like to open the meeting up to the public. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Cascio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. If anybody would like to come up and address the council at this time, please come up, state your name and address.
My name is Anthony Conti. I'm at 490 Ridgewood Boulevard North, Township, of course. Got a question, but first the story before the question. Started a small walkway at my house last year. I'm going to say it was August. No, July. My neighbor didn't want it. All I wanted was English walkway. If you know what an English walkway is, it's bluestone, set, and grass. That's all it is. Neighbor called the town
Can you
sent-
just pick up the mic, Mr. Conti? Thank you.
Town sent the zoning official in. The zoning official at that time was Gary. I don't remember his last name. He came in, told me I can't do it. I said I was down to the town. I didn't need a permit. It was on my property. Why can't I do it? He says, you can't do it. You have to go to zoning, you have to fill out an application. Went down to zoning, found out exactly what I needed. By this time, it was 9:20. I finally put my application in with a blueprint that the town required. Now it went from a English walkway, which is very simple, very common, to curbing and walkway. I handed that in on 9/20. After numerous calls and stops to the town, I finally got the approval to start it on 11/7 of 18, which is now 5 weeks. And that took quite a bit. Not only calls to Mr. Azzalina, but also I spoke with the town administrator, who happened to get Mr. Azzalina on the phone and have him push it through. His excuse to me was the Viviano property. He was doing something with the Viviano property. He didn't have time to do my little project. Fine.
No, it's not fine, Mr. Conti.
Okay.
It's unacceptable.
Okay. Now it got too cold and I couldn't do the project because it's concrete, it's sand, it's gravel. You can't do it. So I started the project in April. April, we had a lot of rain. By the time I finished my project, was late April. I came to the town on May 6th. I went to the zoning office. I requested my money back that wasn't used, because Mr. Azzalino has already charged me $444.50 to over-engineer a sidewalk with 8 inches of gravel, 6 inches of concrete, and wire mesh. You want to talk about over-engineering a sidewalk on my property? If I know code, code is 4 inches of gravel, 4 inches of concrete with a Belgian block curb, set in concrete. None of this over-engineering stuff, okay? So fine, I have to now dig everything out, I have to do all the work, I have to get everything done. No problem. Get it done in, I'm gonna say late April because of all the rain we had this year. If you remember, it rained like hell right through April. Finally got it done. Went to the town on May 6th. Requested my money from the zoning official. Zoning official sent a letter to Mr. Azzalino, an email, telling Mr. Azzalino that Mr. Conti has now finished his project and he would like to get a refund on his $1,000 deposit that he had put down to pay Mr. Azzalino. Finally, after numerous stops there, I believe Mr. Cassio in the last meeting said I should go see Judy. There was something written up, I read it somewhere on a website, or I heard it here somewhere, that we should go see Judy if we have any money. So I went there and I did that. After numerous emails that she sent, I finally made a phone call to him and received a letter today that the town could now refund the balance of my money, which he charged me another $110.75 to say, okay, Mr. Conti did the project properly. So now it's cost me $555.25. I'll be getting a refund of $444.75, which took a year, because they can't do it in this meeting. It has to go to next meeting because we missed the Wednesday, I think it was, that it had to be in. So now we have to go to August, so everybody at the board can approve the money back to me. Fine. I don't have a problem. The problem I have is, don't we have a zoning official in town? Don't we have somebody who understands some sort of engineering? Somebody that can come to my house, look at it and say, Mr. Conti, I see that you had an engineer here, and he put a peg here and he put a peg here, and I see that the sidewalk is going to be on your property. I see that you wrote it up so that it's going to be pitched properly and away from your neighbor's property. There should not be any problem. I see that you put Belgian block, and you set the Belgian block in concrete, the way it should be done, properly. Why am I paying Mr. Azzolina $555.25 and a zoning official out of taxpayer money? What's the purpose? Is there something going on with Mr. Azzolina that, he has to get this? I'm confused.
There's nothing going on. He's responsible to make sure it's constructed properly, not the zoning
He
official.
didn't come during the construction. There's no way he could know.
I can't speak for him.
I'm going to tell you right now, there's no way anyone could know by coming and looking at the top surface of anything and say it was constructed properly. The only way to do that is to get your building inspector, which, by the way, I did not need a permit to do this, to get your building inspector to come in, see what I did, see what I dug out, see if I put the wire mesh, see if I put the gravel, make sure everything is compacted properly, then put the concrete in place.
You're correct.
That's the only way. So why am I paying Mr. Azzolino to come and say, Mr. Conti, you did it properly. You removed all the soil from the property. It's all gone. Here's another $110.75. He has no clue what I did. No clue. Now, I'll rip up anything you want and show you that it was done properly, because I knew I was coming down here after I got the final approval from him to talk about this. But I'd like to know why my zoning official couldn't come and look at the top of the concrete or top of the walkway and say, Mr. Conti, it's proper. Why do I have to pay Mr. Azzolina $110.75 more on top of an over-engineered sidewalk?
Somewhat.
I'll be happy to look into it.
Yeah, but the time is unacceptable.
Well, the time,
That's the first thing that I have a problem with, is the time. The charges are unacceptable also, but I without reviewing it, I can't, I can't defend it. So I'm gonna ask the administrator to pull the file on this so we could all review it and get back to you, Mr. Conti.
Yeah, that's
Because it's just taken, I know exactly what you built. I drove, I see it. Now I know where it is because I go by Gardner all the time.
You go by.
I know where you live now.
and I did it myself.
And just to take, just the dates you stated of taking a year and 2 months to build that little thing is insane.
Insane.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll look into it and get back to you.
All right.
I also
And-
question the specifications, Mr. DeSena, and I'm sure you'll have more insight.
I'm not gonna question that, but I just question, I drive to Gardner all the time and I see what he did, and to take a year and 2 months to approve that is
Well, it
insane.
wasn't a year to approve it.
Well, between you started and finished and all that, it's a year and 2 months, yeah.
Look up a country walkway, because that's what I was originally going to do. It was just going to be blue stone walk surrounded by grass. That's all it was going to be. But because my neighbor complained he didn't want it, even though it was on my property, he complained he didn't want it. It turned into this
All
nightmare.
right, we'll look into it and get back to you.
All right.
Thank you.
Should I come back?
Mr. Tovo, will you be able to?
I think we have your contact info.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so
I'm sure
we'll-
somebody.
Yeah, we'll reach out to you.
And the town, by the way, the people that I dealt with in the town, they were all excellent. I had no problem with anyone in the town. They all were helpful and really went out of their way.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Conti. Would anybody else like to come up at this time and address the council?
Hopefully with some good news.
Seeing no one, do I have a,
David Snide, 91 Windsor Circle. I only have one question.
yes, Mr. Snyder.
Okay. And it may be answered tonight by the engineering company. I'm very concerned, and I was concerned, I'm not against, I'm in favor of the new firehouse and, the ambulance corps and what they're putting on and everything. But what I am concerned about is the traffic flow and the congestion that when we did a few years ago, and I think it was Lieutenant or Captain Hackbarth did it. I think when the survey came through, there was about 14,000 cars a day coming through here. I'll guarantee you there's thousands more than 14,000 today, because you can't move in the morning and you can't move in the afternoon. And I'm out there, so I know, and I see it with my own eyes. And I don't know how we're going to be able to solve this. It's wonderful for us to get the new building or new buildings, but how are we going to do this? We have a doctor who is opening an office, which I think is great, where the
Bridal shop used to be.
bridal shop used to be, and it's going to be, I mean, I think that's a miracle that it's happened, and congratulations to him. He's going to have a lot of customers. But he's going to have a lot of customers trying to get out, and that's going to be another major problem. And I know we talked about that, Council President, when we were discussing the fact that we're going to widen this and we're going to...
Our engineer has provided comments to that application to address his
Okay.
egress and ingress into the lot for the
Yeah,
the
and
dentist
we've
office.
gone through both egress situations in previous things with the gas station and everything else. That doesn't help what we have with the firehouse here. And it's going to cause them problems too, unless there's some way of us widen it for them to get out for their emergencies, let alone the cars bumper to bumper backed up one to another. I venture to say there's thousands more cars coming through every day, and I'd appreciate, before you go to the final approvals, that we get this road straight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder.
Mr. Snyder, I'd just like to add that as part of the intersection improvement, it will be tied into the firehouse, the signaling, so when they have to either leave the house or come back, it will work in conjunction with the signal at the new intersection to allow them egress and regress, if that's the right term.
Yeah, but what about the cars all lined up right there?
Mr. Snyder, just,
Okay.
they get out now, right? And there's never been an issue in all the years that the fire department has existed on Washington Avenue. They've gotten out at 5 o'clock. They've gotten out at 5:40 when I pull into the intersection every night. I've seen them roll out. I've seen them back in at that time also, and it's never been an issue. So we can make all the issues we want about this
I don't
problem.
make any issues.
I know, no, but I'm just bringing it up. They've gotten out. I've never heard any of the chiefs or any of the firemen complain that they've had issues. They do have issues when they're trying to back the trucks in, stopping traffic, but once traffic is stopped, they do get in and out fine. And with the new intersection being completed, it will give them even more ability to get in and out. So, Mr. Ferrari, you're up next.
I just had a few
You
questions.
just got to state your name and address, even though I said
William
who you are.
Ferrara, 2556 Cleveland Avenue, and before I forget, the ambulance corps doesn't have a problem getting out, they're not there. The fire department doesn't have a problem because they make a lot of noise and bells and whistles and everybody hears them. In 2017, you passed a bonding ordinance for $2,900,000. $1.9 million was to reconstruct the DMF building, and $986,000 was for the firehouse to put an additional bay and other repairs to it. Tonight, you're putting out a $6 million ordinance for the firehouse and $1.3 million for the DMF building. What happens to the first ordinance? Is that still in effect?
It was never funded.
It was never funded, so that's no longer in effect. Okay.
Well, I think it's not canceled, so it can be
Well,
funded.
it should be canceled then, if it's being replaced, right?
You would think.
That's what I would think it should be done.
It's outstanding. It's authorized and outstanding like stock. That's what it is right now, but has not been used.
It
It
has
has to
not-
be, it should be canceled. You're correct.
Yes.
Now, the $1.3 million ordinance, I understood that you were going to use $1 million from the school money that we got skinny 8 years ago to pay for that. So why are we borrowing $300,000? $1.3 million. Why don't we just borrow $300,000?
Because we haven't made a decision whether that's officially going to be that way, like you just said.
So you could adjust that ordinance to
Correct.
$300,000?
Yes.
Okay. Next question. What is the status of the 2018 ordinance? I know it's not on the website yet.
You broke up,
The
Mr.
2018 audit, it's not on the website yet? It's kind of late for this place.
I did not put it on the website yet because the council just got it.
We just got it
We
tonight.
just got it,
They
okay.
just got it.
Okay. In the ordinances that are proposed tonight, 1914 is for streets and parking lots. Which parking lots? Is that possibly Sherry Field?
No.
No. So the parking lots, is it just
It
boilerplate?
it is, we have it here. Give me 1 second, I will find it. Bob, do you know where that list is really quick?
It's for Memorial and the completion of Gardner.
And the pathways at,
Correct.
and the pathways at
Sherry.
Memorial Field and Sherry Field, right?
Halfway at Sherry Field?
Is it,
Parking lot at Sherry Field.
parking lot at Sherry Field is not being
Is
paid.
that being done?
No.
Do you know when it's going to be done?
It will not be done, Mr. Farrar.
Not this year.
I don't find, until we find a different solution for our leaves, the parking lot at Cherry will never be done.
Well, it could at least be regraded so it doesn't have so many potholes in it? I mean,
It was regraded in
before or after the
in
season?
April. No, it was done this year. Right now, there's no potholes in it. I was just down there before the meeting.
All right. With respect to the fire engine, I assume they're going to apply for the new grant writer will apply for a grant for that. I've had experience in another area where we had, if you had applied for a grant and you had already spent the money, you automatically were excluded from getting it. Is that a condition that possibly exists here where if you were to go out and issue a purchase order for that fire engine, you would not be able to get a grant? Do you
We'd
know?
have to ask the grant writer that. I
It's
don't know.
not, it's not, I mean, it's a whole list of things you're doing, possibly, many of them could be applied for grants. And you have in the one, 1914, you have roads and parking lots. In 1915, also roads. So, I mean, I don't know what is there any reason why, just an add-on?
Judy, am I correct that 1915 is we're using prior year's ordinances where we didn't spend the entire money, the $389,000?
Yeah, they're reappropriated.
Yes.
They're reappropriated.
I had another question, concern about Clark Field. On opening day, we have the police for only one side of the street parking. It seems that during the season, particularly in, I think they're in All-Stars games now, or league games,
That's correct.
there's a lot more people come to watch the games than normally, and it's both sides of the street parking. So I don't know whether it's possible to look at possibly having only one side of the street parking during the baseball season. Because quite frankly, I've had a number of people come to my house and complain about when they back out of the driveway with the cars on both sides of the street, you can't, it's dangerous. And I think the fire department complained about the possibility of not being able to get a fire engine through there when this whole thing first came up a couple of years ago. So you might want to consider that.
We'll have to review that with the police
And
department.
the final thing is, the dirt pile that's used to cover the infield is behind the open gates. When you have very heavy rain, particularly in the early spring before the grass has grown, the dirt runs down into the street. So I suggest an alternative is to move it underneath the scoreboard or to construct a three-sided structure in the dirt pit. And that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Would anybody else like to come up and address the council at this time? Seeing no one, do I have a motion to close the meeting to the public?
So moved.
Second.
Mike, just a
Councilman Bruno?
question.
Yes, oh,
Sorry.
excuse me, Mr. Elm.
We could do roll call first.
Okay.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes, yes, Mr. Elm.
Just a question on the Sherry Field. What is the prohibition from taking any action on that parking lot?
Well, have you ever seen the tandem? First, it's in the wetlands, first off. We've already received, the town has been fined numerous times for being in the wetlands. And we'd have to put all kinds of drainage, apply for a Mr. Yukimic can speak more to this, we'd have to get a individual permit for about $35,000 and possibly be declined in that permit. And then we would pound on it with the large excavators that put the leaves inside the trucks, and the 20-foot high piles of leaves would be on that pavement, which would destroy that pavement.
Okay.
So typically what happens is, I guess Mr. Farrar was there after the DMF put, I forget how many tons of stone there this year. It was hundreds, right, Mr. Toho?
It was, yes.
They regraded the whole parking lot, so there are no,
During the kickball season, when kids are playing.
yeah. So that would be the issue with that, Mr. Holman. So if you paved it, you would destroy it.
So we could put our leaves there, and we could put all the stone we want, but the second we put anything
Asphalt.
permanent,
Yes.
it becomes a encroachment on the,
Well, yes.
Pervious versus non-pervious, Mike?
okay,
That is correct, Mr.
Yeah.
Mayor.
thank you.
Is that the only question you had, Ms. Holman?
Yes.
Mr. Conley, you are up. Mr. Conley, you need to turn the lights off, right? Okay. Is that mic on, Sue?
Full tech support.
Hello, hello? Hello, hello?
There you go.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
So, Michael, before Mr. Conley starts, obviously, he's presenting the next, his design. What is the expectation of this presentation and subsequent discussions?
The expectation is to authorize the completion of the design and go out to bid with it and pass the bond ordinance to pay for it.
Do we want to...
Yeah, we're going to lower the, well, hold on, Mr. Alderman has a question.
No, that's fine.
That was, if you look at the order of the agenda, that's the agenda. Can everybody see with that, just those lights? I think that's fine, Mr. Cumming.
Is that okay?
I think it's, from up here it is, I don't know about down. Mrs. Osmond, can you see it okay from where you're sitting? For real or no? Okay.
Okay, Mayor, Council, thank you. I appreciate this opportunity to present the Emergency Service Complex Design Development. Again, for those who don't know me, I'm Rob Conley, the owner of Robbie Conley Architect. I have over 35 years in the fire service, over 30 years in architecture, spent 10 years as the chief of Woodbury Heights Fire Department, spent 3 years as a councilman, 4 years as the mayor in my town, and we are emergency service building design specialists. We have substantial experience in all public buildings, but mostly emergency service buildings. So we're here tonight to present to you the design development presentation for the emergency service complex. We'll start out with some slides that you've seen before if you've been following along. This was the needs assessment summary that we did at the beginning of the year, the beginning of the project, which came out to approximately 20,000 square foot building. This is the site plan that we came up on the property. This box right here is the existing firehouse. This box here is the fire department and EMS building. You can see there's a EMS on this side with a driveway and parking lot. We have a grass area in the middle, and then on this side there's the fire trucks be able to pull out. We have parking on this side once the firehouse, the existing firehouse, is demolished.
Excuse me, Mike, are we waiting till the end of the presentation?
No, Mr. Connolly, is it okay if we
Oh,
stay
yeah,
with the
it's fine,
slide?
fine.
Mr. Alderman, you could ask as we're going along, because this way it'll, we won't have to go back and forth with slides.
Okay,
If
just...
you'd like, if that's what you'd like.
I'm fine either way. Just going back to the prior slide, The needs assessment of 20,338 feet. So what exactly does that mean? Can you
That was
explain what?
when we met, okay, originally we did a needs assessment for the fire department.
Yes.
And after we were completed the needs assessment for the fire department, it was asked if we could look at including the ambulance also. So as part of that study, we kind of, I don't want to say guessed, but we took our experience and we came up with spaces for the ambulance building, which we presented, I believe it was last August, which was our first presentation of the study that we did. After we were asked to move forward with the project, we sat down and actually met with the ambulance people and came up with the spaces that they needed also. And that's how we came up with this 20,338 square feet. It was a total for the firehouse of 15,045 square feet and a total of the ambulance of,
5293.
right, a 5 exactly, which came up to the 20,000 square feet.
Okay, so that is to meet all the needs that have been expressed by the the fire department and the volunteer ambulance corps?
Yes, when we were looking at them separately.
Separately?
Separately.
Okay.
But Mr. Conley, we did have several meetings. That number was refined and reduced based on what the needs actually was and what we're actually getting.
Yes, once we got into the actual design, we were able to trim away some of that square footage by some of the spaces were used, multiple use. Also with the ambulance, we were able to cut down, I believe it was 1 bay out of the ambulance building.
Correct.
And 2 or 3 bays out of the fire building. So basically, in the beginning, the needs assessment was one thing, but when we sat down and we started designing, we were able to trim some of those needs down to get the square footage of the building down to a more efficient design.
So the 18,930 meets all the needs, meets the needs of 20,000.
Yes.
So we put 20,338 square foot of needs into an 18,930 foot building.
Yes, because we were able to, once we met with both organizations and we started looking at the design and going through the design, some of the spaces that we had in both buildings were able to be taken out. Like for instance, in the ambulance building, if I go back from my memory, we had a day room or a ready room area, and we also had a separate training room. Well, what we were able to do with the ambulance is we were able to combine them both into one space that was a little bit bigger than the ready room, but smaller than their training room, and they would be able to have the majority of their normal training in that space. If they do have outside training or an outside meeting where they're going to have more people than can fit in that space, then they would be able to use the fire department's meeting room, which is on the second floor, which is a little bit larger, and would be able to accommodate that need.
So the assessment and the design assumes that the ambulance will be able to use the fire department's rooms, meeting
That
rooms?
is correct. That is what the committee,
The one meeting room, not
So-
all the rooms.
So then why, all right,
okay?
I'll ask the next question.
Sure.
On the next page, the Monument Park and the Red House, what is the status of those? And how have they been incorporated into the site plan?
They have not been incorporated into the site plan. We're basically doing the building. This is our conceptual site plan. The township engineer will be doing this actual site plan. And my understanding is they haven't been fully contracted to work on the project yet. But they will be, and at that time, I guess they will do something. This is the monument, which we do not need at this time. We don't feel that we need that for parking. That would be overflow parking. This is the red house here. So at this time right now, this is the parking that we're showing for the fire department, which is approximately the same size as the parking that they currently have. And the parking for the ambulance is over here, which is, it's really hard to tell what parking they have here because they have the entire municipal parking lot, but this is adequate parking for their needs.
And is there any commuter parking assumed here?
At this time, no.
Do you know the space of the current commuter parking?
Well, Mr. Mr. The flip-flop of the parking lot is the commuter parking. The fire spaces during the day, not the designated ones, are the commuter parking.
Mike,
Correct. I believe that.
I think
No, what he
Mr.
said.
Conley is presenting.
Yeah, no,
I mean, the space that is going to result on this plot of land is going to be less than it is today. The firehouse, the footprint of the existing firehouse is much smaller than the footprint of the proposed firehouse and the areas in front. So it's a legitimate question, and I don't think that the commuter parking and the fire department can cohabitate
Okay,
on
that's fine.
on shared space.
I was just asking a question.
Let's, I mean, if
I
we're going
could,
to have this
Councilman.
discussion, let's have a frank discussion.
If I could, Councilman, and I'm going from memory, there's approximately 2 rows of parking that are, say, for fire department only.
I believe so.
And I'm going to guess that there's probably about 15 spots there.
Could be more, but
It
yes.
could be a little bit more. And then I believe there's 3 or 4 rows of commuter parking. So what we're showing here on this side, you would be able to, about half of this existing building right here would probably be the parking for the fire department that is currently fire department only parking. And the other half of this could be left over for commuter parking. I would think that if this project moves forward and the commuter parking is going to stay in this area, that something would have to be done with the red building and the Memorial Park, is that what you call it?
At the memorial.
Memorial, the fire memorial here. I would think that something would have to be done with that. And I know that there's been discussions of relocating the fire memorial across the street on the corner. But that's not something, again, that's not something that we're really working on. I'm just trying to answer your question
Sure.
the best I can.
So the scope of the whatever that number is, the 6 million odd, would it be fair to say it's the new building and the demolition of the existing building? Does it go beyond that on this site?
I have a cost of $200,000 in there for the site, for an estimate, which I discussed with the township engineer. I'm not exactly sure what that $200,000 entails, but again, my guess, because I'm not the site person, is that it does not entail work on this side of the property.
So when we start talking about cost,
That's fine.
thank you.
Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so back to the floor plan. This side here, this is the ambulance on the first floor. We were able to meet all of their needs on the first floor. This is a shared space in the middle, and this side here is the fire.
Fire trucks?
On the
The
second
fire trucks?
floor,
Those are bays.
Those are the bays?
yeah, these are the fire truck bays. Here's the fire truck bays here. These are the ambulance bays here. 2 pulling out the front, and there is 1 out the side, which would be more of a utility or an additional vehicle if need be.
That's for the ambulance side.
That's for the ambulance, yes.
So you allowed for three ambulance trucks?
It's
3 vehicles.
2
vehicles?
ambulances and a first responder or a, what they call a utility
So
vehicle.
3 vehicles.
3 vehicles, yes.
And the fire, you allowed for how many?
A fire, we have 1, 2, 3, and these 2 are double, so they could have 2 smaller vehicles or 1 large vehicle. There is a ladder truck, so the ladder truck would take up 1 of these spaces completely.
Yeah, 5
The other space could be a smaller vehicle, maybe a pickup truck or something like that, with either a boat or a trailer or something like that behind it. So basically, you have 5 bays, but there's probably enough room to fit 6 pieces of equipment.
And all the gear that they use, that, you know, they,
This is their gear, this is their fire gear back here. We have a decon maintenance area here, or laundry area back here, we have storage. So all of their needs are pretty much met on this floor here. And the shared space in the center is the main entrance, the lobby, a toilet room, the radio room, the elevator, and a stair tower. And the radio room is going to be shared by the police, Also, if need be, in an emergency, at least that's the plan for the future, is to also have a radio system there that the police would be able to use.
And we'll get to the numbers later, but does it include radio equipment? Does the 6 million include radio
The
equipment?
6 million does not include radio.
Okay.
On the second floor is all fire. There's coming out the elevator to a lobby. This is that large meeting room that I was talking about earlier that would be able to be shared by the ambulance if they had a large meeting or a large training section. This is open to below. This area here is open to below. So the only part that is actually 2 floors is this section right here. That's
So you spoke to the ambulance, if they had a need, if they had a large meeting, they could move up to the fire department.
That was discussed at one of the committee meetings that we had when we were trying to trim the building down, and we were trying to cut out some of the spaces to get the cost of the building down.
So I guess my question to you is, if that meeting room can be used by the ambulance corps, when they have a large meeting, why can't that space be used, and why can't it be shared? Why can't we expand the shared space? And
it would be shared at times. It would be shared at times.
It's shared, but we have a complete duplicative space on the ground floor for the ambulance.
We actually don't. Can you go back to the first? This area here is a kitchen and a ready room.
So again, a kitchen, which they have upstairs. I guess I'm trying to understand, when I look at this plan, I see 2 complete separate buildings that happen to share one roof. There is no, I don't see efficiency here, and I don't see value to the taxpayer in terms of trying to manage the size and manage the size down.
See, I disagree with you. We have 2 separate organizations that are sharing a building. And therefore, with the 2 separate organizations, they need to have certain spaces separated.
Sure.
Now, this ready room down here, and multi-purpose room, sure, there's a small kitchenette here. And these guys, the ambulance people, are there typically more often. They run duty crews. The fire doesn't typically run duty crews as much. Okay? So they need a small little kitchen area there to heat up lunch, to heat up dinner. Nothing major. They don't cook large meals. They don't cook the larger items. So that's why we have a small kitchenette here. And these are the lockers and showers for the ambulance, which are on this side. And there are separate locker and shower rooms for the fire, also on their side of the building. We looked into putting these all together into one space. One thing, the organizations didn't really want to see that. They would like to keep them separate. But other than that, when we looked at putting the toilet rooms together and the lockers and showers together, it actually made the building larger because of the corridors and the walkways that we needed to get from one side of the building to the other. The other issue with the lockers and showers specifically is you want your lockers and your showers to be close to where the people are going to be coming back if they have if they're contaminated on a call. For instance, an ambulance call. They go out on an ambulance call and they have blood all over them or any bodily fluids. You don't want them tracking those bodily fluids through the building to get to the lockers and showers, to get to the showers to actually get cleaned up. You want them close to the area where they'll be returning to the building. And that's why the lockers and showers are right here, where they come in through a door and they're right to the lockers and showers, so they can get a shower. Now, we do have a decon shower for them to get the majority of this stuff cleaned off, but they're not cleaning with soap and water until they get into the actual shower facilities.
And where's the fire locker rooms?
Can you go to the
fire?
the second floor?
So,
Fire locker rooms are right up here. So there's a stairwell right here. Can you go back to the first? So they would come in here. They would come right up this stairwell. and then go into the male and female lockers and showers that are right in that area.
So, I mean, I don't want to, I'm trying not to be combative. I realize I sounded, and I probably am, but what you just said makes no sense, that the ambulance open the door and walk into a decon. The fire department has to go upstairs.
Yes, but going upstairs it's still adjacent. You walk through this hallway up to up the steps. We're talking about also the types of materials. The materials in these areas are rubber stair treads. They're things that if you are contaminated, they're easy to clean. You're not walking across carpet, you're not walking down hallways where the public is.
Well, I mean, I would challenge you and the organizations to see if there is a possibility to do that. I mean, we have duplicative decon rooms, duplicative shower rooms. We have two different, and we touched on this last time, washing machines to support ambulance, washing machines to support the fire.
The washing machines for the fire and for the ambulance are two different things. What the ambulance has is a typical residential washing machine. They already have a stackable washer and dryer that they own that they're going to use. Either they own or was being donated, that they're going to use. What gets washed in that is linens, sheets, towels, that sort of thing. What the fire department has is what's called a gear extractor. It's a much larger piece of equipment, and that's really to clean their turnout gear. Now, you don't want to use the gear extractor to clean your everyday linens because that's not using it efficiently. And you also have special cleaning material, and most of these, I'm not sure about the one that the fire department has or is looking to get, but most of these have, you pour detergent in, and it brings a certain amount of detergent out each time, and that detergent is more expensive than regular detergent you would use on towels. So they're really two separate things. When you're talking about a laundry for the EMS, and you're talking about a laundry for the fire, you're really talking about two completely different things. It's not the same thing. They can't really be used. You don't want to use...
Well, could they be co-located?
They could be, but I'm not sure what you save by co-locating them, by putting them in one area.
Well, I guess that's my question. You know, I'm challenging you.
I don't believe that you save anything by putting them in the same location. Same thing about toilet rooms. We discussed before about having toilet rooms and having one set of toilet rooms for the entire building. Toilet facilities are required on the amount of occupancy you have in the building, the amount of toilets that you need. It doesn't matter whether they're all together or if they're in separate locations, you still need the same amount of toilets. So there's really no difference in cost whether you put them separate or you put them together. There might be a small amount saved in the amount of plumbing that you need and the amount of piping you need, but to get from one area to the other area, now you're talking about bigger corridors, more corridors, longer corridors, or you're talking about people snaking through the building. It's just not efficient to do it that way. If you look here in the municipal building, you don't have all your toilet rooms in one location. You have them spread out throughout the building because it's more efficient to have it that way. And that's the way that we're designing it. We're trying to design it the most efficient for the use of the building, keeping it within a reasonable budget and trying to meet the budget number that we have, which I think we've successfully done that with the designs that we have. Now, I understand that, your position, I understand where you are. I sat there also, and I understand that this is a lot of money that you're looking to spend, you're looking to approve to spend for the township. But I really think that the most efficient building in the long run is what we're looking at here. I understand your cost savings, you're looking to save a little bit of money with some of the design elements now, but I think in the long run, that's going to end up costing you more money than the efficiency of the building now.
If you were to look at the current EMS building, the ambulance building across the street, do you know what, besides the space for 3 vehicles, do you know what else the new building has that they don't have or is bigger for them versus the old?
You go back to the...
You know what I'm saying? So what's the benefits
Okay.
that they're getting from?
I don't believe they have lockers and showers in their existing building. And I'm trying to go from memory, this
Yeah, I
was
don't
months
know.
ago. I don't believe they have lockers and showers in their building. I don't believe they actually have a decon area in their building. They don't have a designated locked medical storage room, a separate medical storage room. I believe they have all their medical storage in cabinets right now. They do have a day room, kitchenette area, but it's smaller than what we're providing here, because what we're providing here is also a training space for their normal training. One of the other things that we provided is a quiet room for the training, which they don't currently have. So if you're taking an online class, especially the EMS, there's a lot of online class. There's the Gold Cross, which is a magazine. You read an article, you take a test, you get CEUs towards your EMT recertification. So they have a separate room back here as a quiet room, so they're able to do that. There's separate bunk rooms here, which I don't believe the existing building has bunk rooms. So there's a lot of new spaces there that are required that aren't in their existing building.
And I would assume that any of the lockers or anything that's in the current facility will not be moved. It doesn't sound
When
like.
you say lockers, I
Well,
don't believe
whatever
they
you
have
said,
any.
you said they have lockers and these other things.
Right, I don't believe they have lockers in
So
their
no,
existing
so
room.
we're not taking any old,
I don't believe that any of the lockers are going to be taken over.
So, again, going back to what that number, the six
Yes.
number, in terms of equipment, so there's clearly going to be a structure there. There's a radio room, that is not included, or the radios are not
The
included.
radios are not included.
Radios are not.
The consoles, the desks, that stuff. And let's look at it this way, okay? The cost that I'm giving you is for built-in, anything that's built into the building is included in this cost that we have, with the exception of some things that you really can't bond for a 30-year program, okay? For instance, IT. The state will not let you bond for 30 years for IT. Plus, you don't really want to have the IT put into the hands of your general contractor. The township has probably somebody they have an IT contract with, which will most likely be the person that does the IT, the security, card access, your access control system, those sort of things. They are not included in the per square foot cost per se. And when we get to that, I'll kind of break that down a
Okay.
little bit for you. And I do have some numbers for this. We don't have actual numbers or quotes yet until we get to the next phase, but we do have ballpark numbers looking into the costs of some of these items.
so there is a communications room here somewhere. Besides the room that you want to put the radio, there's a telecommunications
Yes,
room here.
yes,
somewhere.
this room in the back on the first floor, can we go back to the first floor?
So all the servers.
Up right here. Back in
everything-
this area here is where the servers and the IT and that stuff would be. Okay, so we were talking about the square footages, we were talking about the 20,000, and what we've come down to is we've come down to 18,930 square feet. And that's through trimming some of the spaces and also making some of the spaces a little bit more efficient in the design process. Next slide. So now, part of the design development phase is getting into the structural for the building, the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing for the building, getting into those sort of things so we can start to really trim the cost and see where the cost is. Because at this point, before this, we were just looking at a ballpark cost estimate. Now we're getting a little bit closer to what the cost really is going to be. So here's the structural design. This is the footings and foundations. If you see, we've designed it so, for instance, the ambulance portion, there's going to be a couple columns coming up, but it's pretty much a wide open space from a block bearing wall that's going to be adjacent to the ambulance buildings, or the ambulance bays, and a block bearing wall on this side. So in essence, with the exception of these couple columns that are coming up here, in the future, if the ambulance needs change, then that whole side of the building, the metal studs and drywall can be taken down and that can be modified into whatever the needs are. So we try to keep as few bearing walls, block walls as we can, especially in an area like this. So that could be modified in the future. And believe me, the emergency services changes quickly and changes often. So we're estimating what the needs are going to be 20, 25, 50 years down the road, but we know that those needs are going to change. So that's why we designed the building this way, so they can make changes and modify as they move forward in the future.
And the HVAC is for the entire, both buildings?
We'll go into that. This is basically the second floor framing. You can see here again that this is going to be opened up. There's just going to be a couple columns. And the second floor is all going to be roof trusses up above. So in essence, nothing on the second floor with the exception of this wall here, and the front and back and side walls are not there. So the entire second floor could be adjusted in the future.
So a question to you, the height is a concern for me. Can we get?
We have a slide coming up that shows the heights. Okay. This is the HVAC on the second floor. Talking about the HVAC, what we've done with this is we don't have one master system to run the whole building. What we have is we have multiple small split systems. It's more like your residential system. And we do that for multiple reasons. One is cost. It's more economical to do this in the beginning of the project, to do it this way, than to have a massive system there. The other reason that we do it is because it keeps it simple. And this is what the fire department and the ambulance have both asked, to keep it as simple as possible. So these are multiple units doing multiple areas within the building. We're keeping it to minimal zoning, minimal controls, because we want to keep it as simple as possible. These are units that these guys look at, or the township looks at, and it looks very similar to what your residential unit is. You have an air handling unit inside, you have a condensing unit outside. Very similar, easy to change the filters, easy to do maintenance if necessary. The other reason we do this is we know these systems aren't going to last forever.
So
And this is a critical
condensers are
building.
all out, nothing's on the roof or anything or inside,
No.
everything's outside.
Everything's out. All the air handling units are either in the attic or in the floor ceiling space or in a mechanical room, and all the condensing units are outside.
And generators?
There is one generator, and that will be placed over on this side of the building, somewhere in this area right here, on the fire department side of the building.
And that's in your cost also?
That's in the cost also, but you'll see when we get to that there's a note there, they believe that they're going to, or that they have a grant for this generator. I believe the grant has been awarded, but the grant will run out at some time, so we're hoping that we can get moving on this before that grant runs out, I believe. Is that correct?
Well, what's your recollection of that?
That grant will expire prior to this project beginning, so we are rewriting the grant to put that generator at the library and keeping the one they have at the fire department.
Okay.
Judy, you show a grant for this on the book somewhere? No?
We have a grant from FEMA. It's as a result of Sandy.
In terms of, so you had mentioned the desires of both organizations
It was, yes. Apparently it's on our books.
to keep it simple. Is that the most efficient?
Yes, that actually is. It is the most efficient. It's the most efficient for cost. And as I was saying, also, one of the other things is this is a critical building to have open all the time. And with us doing multiple smaller units, if one unit goes down, you're not using your heat, losing your heating or your air conditioning for the entire building. You're only losing it for that one area. And you prop doors open, whatever you need to do, you put fans in, you can still operate for the time being until that unit gets repaired. Plus, in the future, it's a lot more reasonable for future councils to approve replacing a smaller unit than if you had to replace the whole large unit all at once.
No solar power at all, right?
No solar power. My suggestion for solar power, if it's something you want to look into, you look at a power purchase agreement in the future after the building's built, because you don't want to have the township purchase the solar panels and include them as part of the building now. The cost is outrageous. It will really put this expense way up, and your payback is approximately, last time I looked, was approximately 15 years, and the solar panels are only 18 to 22 years effective, most of them. So that will be a large expense for the township to put in now. If you do a power purchase agreement, you typically don't pay for those panels. They get put in, you pay for it through time, and you still get savings on your electric bills.
What, is this going to be designed to a standard? Yeah, I'm somewhat familiar with LEED, so, I mean...
We're not designing this as a LEED building, but when we do design buildings, every building that gets designed in my office, we look at sustainable design, and we look at trying to grab materials that are locally produced, units that are the highest SEER we can get, the best rating we can get. So is it designed as a LEED building, a LEED silver building? We're not doing that. That wasn't a request from the township. But what we are looking at is we're always looking at sustainable design and how to save
All right,
our
thank you.
resources.
Fully sprinkled, everything?
Fully sprinkled, yes.
All the bays, everything?
Yes. Okay, this is the,
Mr. Conley, can I ask what the cost would be to design this as a LEED building? We 50% above, we'd be at 9 million. If we were to take this building right now as it sits and make it a LEED building, would it raise the approximately 3 million? About 50%?
I'm not sure that it will be 50%,
What,
but it will
30
be
to
substantially,
50?
maybe 30%.
Okay.
It will be a substantial increase to the cost, yes.
With minimal benefit?
Yes.
Because it's a firehouse, it's not a...
And just the commissioning that's required at the end would probably be close to half of my fee, just to pay for, my fee for the entire thing, just to pay for the commissioning.
Okay.
Okay, this is the, you can see here there's multiple units on the ambulance side to do the ambulance area. On the second floor, there's multiple units up here to do the fire area. This is part of the unit that you saw on the last slide. There's another unit here, and we're probably going to have 1 or 2 units to do that meeting room, which we haven't completed the HVAC design yet at this point. Lighting, you can see here, this is the first floor on the fire department side. We're looking at all LED lighting because it is cheaper to run. It also allows us to keep the service size down. Also allows us to keep the generator size down. So we are looking at LED units for all the lighting. But you can see here's the lighting design. We are looking at in the front area doing a drop ceiling, but throughout most of the rest of the building, it's going to be a hard ceiling drywall to the underside of the structure. Again, to save cost.
Why the drop ceiling in the one section then?
Because in that entrance area, we figured there's going to be a lot of ductwork running through that common space, and also we can always run additional wiring and additional items to the radio room in the future. So we felt that it was more prudent to do a drop ceiling and drop it down there in that area.
You said that there's a space for, in case residents have to come for evacuation, and there's room for them, or did you show that or no?
If the residents were going to come for evacuation, I would assume that they would go up on that second floor, the meeting room for the fire department. I assume that would be the space that they would be going to. Yeah, this is more lighting. This is the ambulance side, the light layout. It's really nothing to really talk about, just to show you where we're at and where we've gone from the last time. And then this is the lighting on the second floor of the fire department side and the second floor of the ambulance side.
So speaking to lighting for a minute, would you, in your experience, have any idea what the cost of utilities would be for this? Just out of, no?
Okay, now we're at the elevations of the building. I'm going to have to get a little closer. This is the front elevation of the building. The soffit is approximately 17'5" on the ambulance side. The peak of the roof is at 33 feet, and the peak of the high roof is at about 44 foot 6 inches. On the fire side, the soffit is at 19'5". The peak of the roof is 35'4", and of course the center is still 44'6". The peak of the existing roof is approximately 32 to 35 feet. Unfortunately, the fire department's ladder truck is out of service, so we weren't able to get an exact measurement there, but we were able to get in that ballpark of 32 to 35 foot as the peak of the existing building. And the peak of the top of the cupola, which really doesn't come into any zoning ordinances or anything, is approximately 50 foot, but we really haven't chosen the actual cupola that would be put on the building. We did tone down from what the previous cupola was.
Glad to hear that. So that design, the peaked roof in the middle, there is not a more efficient design from a height perspective. There's not a way to, because basically if it's 32 feet, we're adding 12 feet from where we are today to where we're going to be.
To where we're going to be.
So I guess my question is, by using a different roof system or a different design for the outside box, can you take height off of that?
If you wanted to go with a flat roof, you could take height off of it. But a flat roof is going to probably cost you more money in the design for the structure. It's going to probably cost you more money in design for the roofing system itself. And it's going to cost you that money, or the township that money again, in approximately 20 years to re-roof that roof, if we went with a higher-end roofing system. If we went with a lower-end roofing system, every 10 years you would be putting money into replacing that roof. That's why we go with, yes, this is a little bit higher for the pitched roof, but this is a 412 pitch, which is really the lowest pitch we can get without doing special things with the shingles to install a regular shingle roof. And this is a 50 to a lifetime guarantee shingle roof. So you're not going to have to worry about repairs and paying for that roof in the future. So is it a little bit higher than it could be? Yes, it is if we went with a flat roof. But first of all, I'm not a huge fan of flat roofs. Most of them leak, and they're very expensive to maintain and to repair. And I'm trying to give you the most efficient building, the most functional, and the most efficient cost building that I can give you in the long run.
So what does that number look like? Is it a factor? Is it 500,000 more to put a flat roof on? Is it?
Put a flat roof on, I would actually have to go through the design and the structure of the flat roof, but we're probably out of wood at that point. So now the building would have to be steel bar joist as opposed to wood floor joist and wood truss. So that's turning the entire building into a different design and a different way of doing things. So I would say that cost is probably, well, the cost to replace this roof as a flat roof is probably, if you were to go with a cheaper roof system, you're talking about $20 a square foot to $28 a square foot every 10 years. So the cost of that is, Samantha, do you remember about what the square footage of that center part is?
It's okay. So I appreciate that there is a cost that, you're sensitive to and protecting us from. I guess, when I was knocking on doors on McKinley and was explaining to people that they were going to be, where today they have nothing and tomorrow they're going to have a 44-foot building in front of them, that sort of was a surprise to them that it was going to be so high. And, they had concerns. So, as I do have to look out for everyone, as we're responsible to taxpayers to most efficiently spend the money, we're also have to be a good neighbor.
Yes,
And,
I definitely understand that. And that's why I wanted to show you the soffit heights here, because when you're looking at this building, you're looking at that level, because they sit up higher, approximately 10 to 15 feet above the grade of this building. So currently, if you take that and then you take the 6-foot fence that's on top of that, you're not going to see very much of this roof if you're looking straight out.
So,
But
I
do
would disagree
understand.
with you, because if you're directly behind the existing firehouse, that may be the case. If you go in,
It slopes down.
it slopes down, and where this is going to be, it is almost level.
It gets down to probably about 6 foot above grade, and then it does slope down to almost level right around the end of the ambulance building.
So they are going to be impacted.
They are definitely going to be impacted.
All the residents of McKinley were invited to this meeting, Mr. Conlon. All the residents within 200 feet were invited, and they were given a package with the presentation.
I would assume from this too, just, not the building, but with the extensive bathrooms and plumbing, so what is the town required to do I'm sure we need additional plumbing and lines and gas lines and whatever's coming in here, or no?
Well, the gas line, the gas company typically will bring in the gas line. That's no additional charge for that being put in. They'll come in and put that in. The water lines and the sewer lines, we're in the process of designing the size of those lines as we move forward. I'm not sure that we're going to be able to use the existing lines that are there. In fact, I don't think we're going to. So you will have a new water line and a new sewer line coming in, but the old ones will be abandoned.
But that's in your cost?
That's in the cost, yes.
That's just the back.
Okay, yeah, this is the back of the building. You can see here that the soffit height is approximately 24 foot in the back. And then, of course, the roof, of course, the peak is the same on the back as it is on the front, 4'6".
What is the material that they'd be looking at on the back?
On the back of the building would be a block. Most likely an architectural block or a regular block of paint. We haven't made that decision. We can go either way with the rear of the building. Architectural block is a little bit more expensive, but that's what we have figured our cost estimate at, is the architectural block. If we wanted to save a little bit of money, we could probably go with either a color smooth block or regular block and paint it, but then there's a maintenance issue.
And on the front, is it the same?
On the front, it is the same. Now, on the front, this is architectural block on both, let's call them the wings. The center of the building is brick.
Like a brick?
A brick. A brick. It's
technical
block wall. It's considered a brick building with masonry backup. So, and this tower sort of element here is architectural block to kind of give it a little bit of a setup.
And what's that element in the center of the front elevation?
This here?
Yes.
That is panels. We've looked at fiberglass panels. We've looked at PVC panels. That's just a panel design. Behind that is the stairwell and the elevator. So we can't put anything there other than solid wall. We can't put windows there. So we did put that there as a design element. And we've also looked at the possibility of putting a clock in there if that would be the township's. If the township would want that, and the clock is kind of included in our cost estimate right now, but if we were to change that, it would be pennies over this total square footage of the building. So these are more of like architectural panels on the front of the building, just to break it up a little bit.
And on the side elevation, the front,
Yes.
is that also
That is
panels?
that is the side of this, that is masonry. That would be architectural block, like a split face block or something of that sort.
That design element?
Yes, that's actually the side of this portion of the
Yes.
building here.
But those aren't windows.
Oh, no, they are windows.
Oh,
There are windows in there, yes.
Okay, on the side?
Yes, they are windows, I'm sorry. I thought you meant the material.
No, okay.
Yes, these here are windows, okay? And these are windows on this side, top and bottom, with panels in the middle.
Okay.
Similar to panels in front of the building, right?
Yes,
It's
they would
kind of
be
like the
similar
ones
to
we
the
have
panels.
at Town Hall, Mike, the ones that we painted blue, so they have the windows and those panels.
Yes. We asked for a certain similarity to this building so that the architecture might be in keeping.
don't know if that was a great idea. I don't know if this building has great architectural...
We're trying to do Washington Township, you know,
All right.
do the federal
We
style,
tried to
you
get
know?
it into a kind of a neo-federal design
Thank
for
you.
the building. We didn't
Whatever the
wanna-
proper terminology
Yeah,
is.
so we could at least have, you know, some character. After all, it is Washington Township.
Sure.
The elevator is going to be just passenger, not, there's no...
Yes, just
So-
about.
So getting furniture up and down and things, we're going to use that elevator?
They could use the elevator. They could, depending on what elevator we specify, we can either ask them to include the blankets. Some of the manufacturers automatically include the blankets and the hooks. So if you're moving furniture, you can hang them up and move furniture. Okay, and that brings us to the cost. What we've come up with is we're still at that $250 per square foot. The structural portion of it is approximately $45 a square foot. The MEP is approximately $75 a square foot. The architectural comes in at about $130 a square foot, making it at the $250 a square foot.
What's the MEP? I'm sorry, MEP?
About $75 a
Well, what is
square
it?
foot. Mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. I'm sorry. So that brings the building, what we call bricks and sticks, in at $4.7 million. The site work is approximately $200,000. We have $46,000 for demolition, $63,000 for the diesel exhaust system. Specialized equipment and other equipment, $20,000. That's for kind of the built-in counters, cabinets, those sort of things. Emergency generator, we have about $65,000 in the budget right now. We can pull that out if that is still available on a grant or if the new grant gets approved. Bringing the cost of the building to $5,126,500. Professional fees have not changed, they're still the same. Legal and reproduction, I believe that I knocked this down last time that I met with you because we're not going out to bid with paper drawings, we're going to go out to bid with electronic documents. Saves us about $300 to $400 per set of drawings. And for some reason, if I'm giving contractors a disc, I don't have to give them their deposit back. Of course, the deposit's much less. If I'm giving them drawings and they give the drawings back, I have to give them the deposit back. So therefore, the township ends up paying about $350 or more per set of drawings that we have reproduced for the bidding process. And lately, we've been seeing 20 contractors or more picking up drawings and specifications on those projects.
And all the drawings and CADs will be owned by the town?
The
drawings,
drawings,
yeah.
the drawings
We would own that?
are owned by the town for the use of this building, yes. And then legal and reproduction, I said we had knocked that down last time. The contingency, I played with the contingency a little bit, but I didn't want to do that at this point, so I kept the contingency at 10%, which brings the total project cost to $6,081,993. And we talked about earlier, we discussed some of the equipment that will be purchased by the township, but is not part of what we show here as the bricks and sticks, and is not part of our cost estimate in here. Things such as your access control system, your IT, your security. Those items, we're looking at approximately $240,000 for those items. Now, whether the township...
I'm sorry, 240?
$240,000. Now, whether the township wants to take that out of this contingency or us to lower this contingency, we can do it either way. But I feel more than comfortable that out of the numbers that we've given you, that we could at least take the $240,000 out of that 10% contingency to get you the rest of what you need for your building. So I would suggest, though, that if you bond, that you take this money out and look for that money on bond anticipation notes or something else, so you can go ahead and bond this whole project at the 30 years or so that you're able to, as opposed to knocking it down by the things that only have a 5 or 7 year lifespan.
And what do you estimate the site design to be, to cost?
Site design, right now we have a cost of $200,000.
That's, so is that just designing? So-
No, that's the site work. Can you go back to the site plan, Steve? That is a ballpark cost estimate at this time for a retaining wall that will go across the back of the building, curbing that will come down along the front in these areas, and repaving the lot.
And we think we're going to do that for $200K.
It's approximately $200,000. That's where the numbers come in.
And
And we have conferred with your township engineer on that.
And is our township engineer's professional fees included in the 415?
I do not know what your township's engineers are going to charge you. My fee is not $415,000. My fee is below that. There is some additional money in there, but I do not know exactly what the township engineers.
But in your 415, you had included hiring our engineer or some other engineer.
I had
to-
included some money in there for engineering. I also included money in there for geotechnical engineer, which we've already had the geotechnical engineer go out and
Do the work.
and do that work, and we've already been paid or reimbursed for that cost. So there is still money above ours in there, but I don't really know what the cost of your municipal engineer is going to be.
So Mr. Yakimic needs to provide you a proposal.
Mr. Dissent, I gave a proposal, but for the life of me, I can't remember what the number was.
It's fine.
I gave it on May 30th to the administrator.
So excluding your contingency of 10%, the $521,000, so you're looking at $5.5 million, correct?
We're looking at $5.5
So
million.
of the $5.5 million, what do you feel is an estimate versus hard numbers?
They're pretty hard numbers.
So 5.5 you feel comfortable?
5.5 I feel comfortable with. It's our cost estimate. The industry can change at any time. I don't foresee that happening in the next couple of months if we move forward on this. If this gets into bidding next spring or bidding next summer, I would have to look at the numbers at that time and see if the costs have gone up or gone down, which we know costs typically don't go down. But I would have to see where the cost of construction has gone. But based on the current data and current comparables in the area, I feel comfortable with this number right now.
So in addition to, let's leave it at the 6081, if we may, we would need to add access controls, IT, radios.
If you're doing radios, now radios, that $240,000 does not include a radio system, because radio systems can be anywhere from a couple $100 to $1 million. And I don't know what radio system you're looking at.
I think we're looking at the million at the moment.
So I don't touch anything when it comes to radio costs, because I've seen them go in many different
But
directions.
Mr. Conley, like you just stated to Mr. Bruno, you're confident that you could reduce the contingency to 5% and include the 240 and still be at the 6081 number with $250,000 in contingency?
Correct. That is correct.
So it would not be 6.330 is what I'm asking.
That is correct. That is correct.
So you're you're comfortable in taking that contingency down by 5% and getting the
I would be comfortable
250?
taking that contingency down by 5% if you were going to.
So the number, so even doing that, we'd still have $250,000 in contingency
That
to
is
buy furniture or whatever we may need or whatever comes up about extra site work or whatever it may be.
No, it could be different. That's not for furniture.
It doesn't include any action on the Memorial Park.
Correct, does not.
It does not include any action on the Red House or the former lot where the Red House stood.
That is correct.
It doesn't include furniture and equipment, or furnishings.
Furnishings, we took the cost of furniture out. I don't remember if that was before the last presentation or after the last
It
presentation.
was before.
Okay, we took the cost of furniture out because it's our understanding that there's furniture that was donated, that the fire department and the ambulance are going to use a lot of that furniture for their building, or furniture from the municipal building or something for most of the furniture. So we were told to take the furniture out of the budget. and that would either come out of their regular operating cost, or they would deal with that later if everything that is here or available isn't enough for them.
You had mentioned, so cabinetry, lockers, storage for medical on the ambulance side, storage for heavy equipment on the fire side, all of those racks and locked cabinets. That's included in this cost?
Anything that is not movable, anything that is built in is included in this cost. Like, for instance, the medical storage actually has, Sam, can you go back to the first floor plan? The medical storage room here actually has a shelf in the back that will be built in, and these are cabinets in the front that are open from the engine bay side, with a door on the engine bay side and the other side. They are built in, so they are included in the cost. They are part of the cost. Just like this counter that you see here in the radio room with some cabinets underneath, that would be included in the cost. If the fire department decided to put a metal rack in there to put equipment in, that's not included in the cost because that's not built into the project. The gear lockers, they are part of the cost. They're in there. Same thing with the lockers for the lockers and showers. They are included in the cost.
And is the estimate based on a particular model, or is it a credit that you're giving for the purchase of it? Because, I mean, so the kitchen, you know, you may say Formica, we may go granite, I don't know. So how is that factored in? Are we getting a baseline? Are we getting top of the line? Are we getting, you know, Home Depot?
You're getting somewhere in the middle. The majority of the buildings that we specify, and I make suggestions when we go into the materials, what I've seen has worked in emergency service buildings that I've designed and other people have designed. And I also make suggestions on what not to use. And what we're looking at is we're looking at solid wood cabinets in the kitchen area. We're looking at a solid surface, probably not a granite, but we're looking at something that's, you know, like a silestone or something of that sort there. So we're not looking at top of the line materials. We're not looking at the bottom of the line materials. We're looking at materials that I've seen through the years of doing these emergency service buildings will hold up in an emergency service building to the firemen and to the ambulance personnel. You know, you got to figure in a building like this, it's not their house. So they don't necessarily take care of everything the same way that they would the house. So they're a little bit stronger,
Sure.
things are
Okay.
you know, more durable, and that's what we're looking at material-wise.
Okay. And then in terms of the site, so when they redid the gas station on the corner, at one point, before it was redeveloped, you almost drove down into the former gas station. And that has now been elevated by about 8 feet through being filled in. In terms of the site, is there a plan to change the elevation of the existing site? Are we going to fill it? Are we going to raise it? Are we going to lower it?
I don't believe that we have to. I went through and I did a grading plan. I'm not sure if you've had an opportunity to look at this yet, but I've gone through and done a quick grading plan for myself. And this area here may actually be a little bit undergrade, but it will not be much undergrade. By the time you get to this door along the side, that will be out of grade, that will be above grade. And over here, so really we don't have to bring very much fill, if any, in for this building at all. And the footings and foundations that we pull out, the soil that's there appears to be good enough to be used for the fill. So if we do have to do some filling, like maybe down in this corner of the ambulance building, if we do have to put some fill in there to keep everything at one level, we'll be able to reclaim some of the material we're taking out of the footings and foundations to use that there, because the soils here, when we had the geotechnical engineer go out, the soils are very good.
Okay.
So no remediation with the soils?
It doesn't look like there's any structural remediation or anything like that that needs to be done. Now, granted, we're taking 5 different boring locations, so there could be underground unforeseen things, but we're pretty confident with what we've seen that that's not going to happen. And hopefully with the history of the site, the township knows, you know, that there's not anything buried there that we're going to run into.
Just Jimmy Hoffa. What about, did the borings and did that analysis include any chemical?
It did not, but if they would have found anything that was suspicious, they would have brought that to our attention. And there was nothing brought to our attention to make us think that we need to investigate further.
And historically, when you take down a firehouse, because of the type of activity that occurs there, the fact that there are trucks with diesel, oil, that there are chemicals, could that in and of itself become a hazardous site?
Very doubtful.
Okay.
It's a concrete slab, and it's not like they're... One fire department that I've dealt with had a pit in there where they used to do maintenance on their vehicles, and it was stone in the bottom, and everybody thought there was concrete under the stone. There wasn't. That was an issue. I don't see any.
Okay.
I don't foresee anything like that happening here.
Can I just make one comment on that?
Sure.
That whole corner is suspicious, just so you understand. So my concern is the 10% contingency, I think is not, I don't think it's a bad number, but I think that number should be for things like soil remediation or things that we start adding on to the building. I don't think that's to your point, just so, I just want to be clear, I don't think that should be a furniture number.
But it wasn't a furniture number, he said it was an
No,
IT.
but he took
said
it down
was
by
an IT.
200, and then we said we can use the other 200.
If
But
we
I
had
mean,
to, we could use...
But my feeling is we should strip furniture out and everything else, and because I think,
We
I
still
mean, it's a
gotta
big
afford-
project, and I don't know what you're gonna find as a contingency, and when I talked about the sewers and the water, and I don't know anything about that, but I know there's gonna be a lot.
Yeah, no, that's all included in the cost, the new sewer line, the new water line coming in, the new electric service. That's all kind of included in our cost of the bricks and sticks. Unforeseen conditions,
That's my concern.
historically, we haven't found anything outrageous on any of the projects that we've done. Even in Montvale, when we did the new firehouse at Montvale, there was a question about something possibly being buried underneath of the engine bay floor of the existing building. We had ground penetrating radar, went out there and took a look, there was nothing there. So a lot of times you hear old stories and they become lore, and the next thing you know, they become fact. We haven't heard anything like that about this site that we're looking at here. And from having our geotechnical engineer go out and do the core borings and look at the soils that are out there, that's why I feel fairly comfortable that we're not going to run into any major unforeseen conditions with this. But I can't guarantee that, but nobody can guarantee that.
Well, that's my point. So, you know, the 10%, 500,000, maybe it could be nothing, or it could be 200.
Historically,
For this, for the building, I'm saying.
yes, now, most of the buildings that we've done, again, and I know that I've said this before, but we keep 1 to 2% is the change orders on the building. So having a 5% contingency, I'm still comfortable with that. So I don't know that we would have change orders going up that high, unless, of course, there are things that the fire department and mayor and council request. And then if we do go above that 5%, then we would have to discuss that later. Believe me, I'm more than happy to keep the 10% contingency and you find money elsewhere to buy the rest of the things, but I'm comfortable with the 5% contingency and using that money.
But typically, at the 100% mark, you're at a 5% contingency because you refine the design that your cost opinion should only include a 5% contingency at the 100% design, which is a general practice in the industry. We shouldn't be continuing up that alley once we refine the design to 100%. Just one quick comment, Mr. Connolly, I just want to ask you, the town newspaper rag noted that you were involved in Montvale Firehouse and there was a change order. that had nothing to do with your design. That's a dispute between the subcontractor and the contractor, not
is
with
correct.
Conley Design,
That is
correct?
correct. There was a dispute between,
I'm talking to Mr. Conley, Mr. So,
there was a dispute.
there's a dispute,
between
but that was nothing, that had
the
nothing
general
to do.
contractor and one of his subcontractors.
Correct.
Nothing to do with our design at all.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify, because there was an article written, and it said that it had, you know, that your design,
Yes, exactly. And also with New Milford Police, at the end of the project, there was actually a credit change order that went back to the borough at the end.
At the end of the project.
Yes.
okay. I've had a lot of people ask me that, you know, your design was part of the change order. It had nothing, it's a
No.
dispute between the subcontractor and the contractor. It had nothing to do with your design.
And actually with Montvale, there were several items that were bid as alternates. And during the project, because the bids came in well below our original estimate, most of those things that were alternates, in fact, I think all of them, were awarded as change orders to put back into the project
Okay.
because the base bid came in lower.
Thank you.
And you have a general, I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Steve.
Mr. Khan, I think, you know, I think the situation we talk about contingencies, we have 2 gas stations in the area that have had plumes and problems with the Environmental Protection Agency. I think that's a concern that Mr. Alden, Mr. Bruno, and I think we all have that. And, you know, no matter what we build there, that soil is going to be the soil, is going to be the soil. Now, I know we did bore testing, and that only tests for the structural aspects or physical characteristics of the soil for a building to be put there. If perchance, you know, that plumes come back and that soil seems to be toxic, I think that's the big concern that some of us have. I'm not really concerned about it because I know it's being remediated as best it can, and we're letting it, you know, deteriorate over time with the benzines and whatnot. But I think that's a concern that some have, just because of the specific location at this point. Have you come across that before in other buildings such as this?
Actually, yes.
Okay, good.
I can
So
tell
what's
you
your
one-
experience?
One building that I worked on, there was a gas station across the street that had a issue with leaking taps.
Okay,
That plume was supposedly cleaned up and released by DEP,
right,
EPA,
whatever.
whichever.
Well, those government agencies
Released
that
by
make
the
soil
state,
insurance, right.
that everything was fine, they got a letter of final. When we started doing the borings at this firehouse, we did find something that was suspect.
Right.
We had it looked into, they went up to the state said, oh, that's probably residual from the gas station across the street, that's a closed case, everything's fine, move on with your construction.
Okay.
I'm not saying that would definitely happen here.
But it's
that's
happened in the
experience that
past,
I've had.
and that's the experience you have. Okay, thank you.
Are you hiring the GC?
The GC would be hired by you. We would put it out to bid.
Oh, you would?
We would handle the bidding process, and actually, I guess we would have to check with your purchasing agent how it wanted to be done. But typically, we prefer to handle the bidding process, to distribute the drawings, to run the pre-bid meeting with the contractors to go through. The township receives the bids, the clerk receives the bids. We're present for the bid opening process. We then review the bids along with your attorney to make sure everything is proper. We check on the contractors. If it's not somebody we've dealt with before, we would check their background, see if we can find if there's anything, if they've had any issues in the past. We can bring that to your attention. But really, with the local public contract laws, it's very hard to not award to the lowest responsive bidder. And that's really what you're going to end up with because of the local public contract laws. But we would go through that whole process, and then we're also out here during construction every 2 weeks, keeping an eye on the contractor, making sure he's staying on schedule, trying to keep him on schedule, and also making sure that when the building's complete, that he's building what we want.
So you would supply a project person to go through the drawings in case there's problems with the GC? When they start looking at these things and they start reading them, you know.
There's a question period
Yeah.
through the bidding process where they would submit questions. They would submit those questions to us. We would answer those questions in either clarification or an addendum that would be issued publicly. we have to follow to a T the local public contract law.
That's fine.
And there's a large process that we go through, but we would, and that's why we prefer to do that. Not that your purchasing agent doesn't know how to do it or couldn't do it, but we do it all the time on buildings. And buildings are actually a separate item in the local public contract law. They have the local public contract law, they have trash, and they have buildings.
And that's in your fees.
So, and that's all part of our fee, yes.
And you're more qualified to do it than probably a small town.
Exactly.
Person.
If you were
Not that we're a
town
small
that
town
did-
or anything.
But if you were a township that did construction projects every year or every 2 years, your purchasing agent would probably feel a lot more comfortable, or your administrator or whoever handles it would be able to handle
With
it.
your-
But because you don't
yeah.
do that much, and I guess I'm a control freak.
And you
I
do
like
do that.
And we do that all the time. And
Can
that's the way I define
I
it.
ask you a question?
Sure.
I haven't had a lot of questions because I was privileged to work with the firemen on the design aspect in those meetings with you. Your generator, is that going to handle 100% of the load, including HVAC?
That is the plan, yes.
What is the power for that generator? What's the fuel? Please.
We are looking at a diesel generator,
Okay.
I believe. Diesel or natural gas?
Diesel.
Diesel. a
Diesel?
generator, yes.
Okay. How big a tank? Chief, how are you? Yep.
One of the problems that we found...
Name and street address, I'm
Peter
sorry.
Incetta, 519 Monroe Avenue, Chief of the Fire Department. One of the problems that we found with that last grant on a generator that was supposed to be natural gas was the cost associated to run the gas line, which would come almost from Hellenbahn Bridle through the lot all the way to the side of the building.
There's no gas in the current building?
There is gas in the current building. The problem is the gas line would have to be upgraded.
Yeah.
That building's actually served by 2 gas meters. The existing
Right.
line from the 1955 building,
Yes, sir.
and then the additional line from the 1965 addition.
Very good.
So it was cost prohibitive. I believe we were looking at over $60,000 through PS to run that all new.
Okay. Thank you.
So just, I'm sorry, can you just stay with that for a minute? This was the question I had before about all these lines coming in and out, which are going to have to be upgraded. So is what the chief's saying, we have 2 old gas lines that are going to be taken out anyway?
Well, we would be taking out those old gas lines and putting in a new gas line out to that main. I think what the chief's talking about is having that generator be a natural gas generator. The service line that's out in the street isn't large enough to be able to handle that amount of gas for the generator. So they would have to go back further to get that. But that gas line should be large enough to be able to run this building.
Okay. Anything else for Mr. Connolly at this time?
I just have
Dr.
one, I
Castle?
have one question tagging on to Mr. Bruno's question.
Thank you,
So
Chief.
we have, we hire a GC, and your job during construction is to send someone out every 2 weeks
Every 2
to check
weeks,
that
yes.
the sticks and bricks are, 16 on center, whatever it may be.
Correct.
And I'm assuming if there's a question from the general contractor, they have an open line of communication to you saying, I can't read this is 16 feet or 16 inches or whatever it may be. You
Yes.
have that back and forth.
During construction, RFIs, requests for information,
Right.
come from the contractor, sometimes on a daily basis. We
Okay.
answer those. They also give us submittals on all the equipment.
Mm-hmm.
When we come back and have the construction documents completed, when we're ready to go out to bid, we're going to have a book that's approximately 2 to 2.5 inches thick.
Okay.
That's going to have every single thing that goes into this building. All of those items, majority of those items that go into the building, we are going to receive submittals from the contractor telling us and showing us that he's putting in the item that we're looking for, or at least something that is equal to that. And that's the process we go through. So typically, with the exception of the meetings, we're typically spending about 8 to 10 hours a week on this
site?
project.
On site?
Not on site, in the office doing the work.
Okay.
And then on site, we are on an average out there every 2 weeks. Sometimes we come out, depending on what's going on with construction, sometimes we may push that to 3 weeks if there's not much going on. Sometimes we're here 2 weeks in a row. And one of the things that I like to do, I know this is video, but I like to come out and surprise the contractor also.
I like that too.
Because if they know we come out every other Tuesday, there's full amount of manpower there. On Wednesday, there may be a skeleton crew. So we like to come out in the middle sometimes and kind of surprise them and make sure they're actually doing the job.
I like that too. Thank you.
And this is all progress billing?
I'm sorry, what was
Progress billing, percentage of completion?
Yes, yes. Basically, what happens is, if you're talking about the construction side of it, the general contractor will submit a schedule of values, and we basically, he puts down the schedule of values, what percentage of each line item he feels is done. We review that schedule of values, either agree with them or disagree, make him change it. Once we're satisfied, we certify that that work has been completed, then we turn that payment application over to the township for you to cut the check to the contractor.
Okay, and do they have generally a clause that, you know, they're supposed to be done by a certain time? If not, then we start knocking the bill down, or how's that work?
Yes, there's liquidated damages. We have to look at the liquidated damages. It's not a penalty, and it can't be a penalty, and it can't be an arbitrary number. It has to be a number that you have cause for that loss in the township. So we would have to calculate a number to put in there. I believe we've already calculated an estimate number of, I believe, $350 per day is what we would start charging back as liquidated damages, or the township could start charging back to the contractor if he is behind schedule.
And it's just GC we would deal with. We pay them, he pays the subcontractors.
Exactly.
We're not interested in
Exactly.
that.
And I tell every general contractor out on the job, his subs are his problem, they're not my problem, he better control them. I handle with the GC, and I talk with the GC, and the township talks to me. That's the way I prefer.
And any arbitration, I guess our attorney would deal with that, it would be New Jersey?
And that's why the legal portion of the specification, which we've already drawn up, I believe we've already forwarded that up to the attorney for his review and his comments, so we can make it, whatever changes need to be made, so the attorney's comfortable with it, because he's the one that's going to have to defend that contract in the future if there's an issue with the contract.
And just start to finish, how long?
For the construction,
Well, I don't know. Once we say, yeah, knock it down and build, we'll start building.
if you were to say yes, we have approximately 3 to 4 months left to be ready to go out to bid. And then you have approximately 2-month bidding period to put the project out to bid, receive the bids, have us review it, get it back in front of you for you to award it to the contractor. And then we're talking about probably 12 to 16 months for construction. The reason that's a broad range is because I don't know what time of the year this is going to get started. If you tell me move tonight and we can get moving, we can get it approved, we can go out to bid in November, receive it, early November, receive late December, beginning of January, get started in March, then we're thinking probably closer to the 12 to 14 months.
Okay, what is your 3 to 4 months? What are you doing?
For us to finish the construction documents. Right now, we're at the end of design development. We still need to design that booklet, we need to do all the details, the way the building's going to get put together, we need to do all that work between now and the time that it's ready to go out to bid.
So we wouldn't need to bond this until at least 3 months from now, technically?
I would suggest that you start working on the bonding immediately, because it does take, again, I'm going back to my experience, but it takes 2 to 3 months for you to get the bond approved. So if you were tonight to say, go ahead and move forward, I would suggest that in next month that you have your first reading of the bond ordinance, then that will be September for your second reading, then you have the 20-day repose period, so you wouldn't actually be able to go out to bid until that money is available. I believe that is something I would have to defer to your attorney. I'm never positive whether you can go out to bid or you can't award until that money's available. But
Do you know, Trudy? Can we not bid until we bond, or can we bid without bonding?
You can bid, you can bid on it, but you have to actually pass the bond order to be able to actually generate the purchase order. You have to have that adopted. You have
It's got to be funded before you make the award.
okay, it has to be funded before award.
Right.
But you can bid without funding?
You can.
Okay. I'm just trying to
But
understand.
Judy, that is a non-recommended practice, I believe, correct?
No, what happens is
Has nothing
that
to do with that.
you actually, you adopt the bond ordinance.
No, but we'd have to have a bond ordinance ready that has approval before we can go out to bid. Like the council would have to have a definitive yes before we go out
Oh,
to
yeah,
bid.
right.
Yes, that's what I'm asking.
Yes.
We couldn't just say, let's get numbers, and then all of a sudden decide we don't want to bond this thing and waste everybody's time and
I
effort.
mean, if you don't
That's
adopt the
illegal.
bond ordinance, it's done.
No, you can straw poll it.
No, I think we,
Yeah, that's what she just said. You can go out to bid without funding it. So you can straw poll the
Right,
bond
you can
and say, yes,
start
we
your
do
bidding
it.
process, but if you don't pass the bond ordinance, bill doesn't go through.
And I think we may be talking about two separate things. One is the bond ordinance being introduced, and the other is the bonds actually being.
yeah, I think the bond ordinance has to be introduced before you go out to bid.
Okay, right, Judy?
Well, as far as introduction, but if you introduce, you were talking about 2 to 3, you're talking about 2 to 3 months as far as the turnaround, that's true. So you would introduce, okay, then you could go out to bid. But you have to do the advertising, you have a 20-day stopper period. By the time all that gets done, you'll be getting your bids in and awarding the contract.
Anything else for Mr. Conley?
Not for Mr. Conley, but I have something for Peter. In terms of the memorial,
I'll just come back on my...
Mr. Conley, can we just turn the lights back on? Are you done with your presentation, or you have more
Yeah,
slides?
no, I'm finished.
I'll get him. Okay, thank you.
I want to thank you very much for the opportunity. I look forward to moving forward with the project in the near future, and hopefully we'll have a very successful project moving forward. So, thank you very much.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you, Mr. Conley. Mr. Ullman, you had a question for Peter?
So understanding that what was presented this evening doesn't include the Memorial Park or the Red House, do we have a plan for those two parcels? Because I'd hate to consider development of the firehouse, not understanding what the plan is for the adjacent property.
Like Rob said, once the old firehouse comes down, that would go toward firefighters parking. Again, we haven't taken this all the way through, but the preliminary thoughts are, like he said also, the memorial would move potentially across the street. And if we don't have another option by then for commuter parking on a long-term basis, where the Red House is, and like that would revert back to commuter parking to where the new firehouse would be going. So that's the tentative plan, I believe.
I don't think the Red House could house the current parking though, right? How many permits do you sell, Sue?
About 65 at this point?
Yeah, so that'd be 65 spots where the Red House is.
We don't
Well,
have 65
we only have 35 or 38.
spots.
Yeah.
We sell 65 permits for
Oh, so it's 35 spots.
35 spots, yes.
I don't think it would fit there either then. Right?
Again, I'm going to say between the Red House and we might have to encroach on the monument property a little bit to get the same number of spots, but the monument would be moving also.
Is the monument a separate tax lot?
I couldn't tell you offhand, I don't know.
And in terms of how the ambulance corps will operate or what their obligations are to the town, I guess today they have a building that they own. They operate for a lack, I don't know the legal term or the legal structure, but they are not under the Township of Washington, the municipal government. They are,
Now you're getting a new projector.
It's part of the
Contingency, right, there you go.
Part of the contingency. That's 1% down.
No change orders.
Is that covered by the contingencies?
1%.
So the ambulance corps today has a deeded piece of property. They operate as a volunteer ambulance entity. They're not part of the municipal government. Is that a fair characterization?
That is a fair characterization, and you gentlemen, correct me if I'm wrong, I forget the term of the lease, but you have a 99-year, dollar-a-year lease to use that property for as long as
No,
you...
it's actually a deed. It's
Oh.
actually a deed. It's a deed.
Oh.
It's a regular deed.
Okay.
Yes, well, it's a regular deed with a reversion if you stop using it as an ambulance.
That's this property.
That's the current property, yes.
So when they...
But they're also, a lot of all their equipment, in terms when you're saying not on the government, they're insured by us, right? All the equipment's insured by us, liabilities by us, equipment's by us. And the town is, they're affiliated with the town in terms of, I'm sorry, operations, so to speak.
Okay, so when they... A lot of dropping stuff today.
My turn.
If the volunteer ambulance corps moved to this new building, how is that organized? So in
Okay.
terms of us,
Yes.
us being the township, we're
Okay.
building this.
Okay, well, basically what the thought process was that they would be getting it's going to be a 75-year lease. The statutes provide for a 50-year lease plus a 25-year additional extension. So I've drafted up myself in preparation for this, a 75-year lease. And with a lot of terms which kind of mirror the fact of them having the building, as long as they are operating as an ambulance corps. And then the deed will come back to the town of that property. And then we'll own the property, as a municipal property.
And in terms of maintaining it, so today, when we do the budget, and they, need to do some type of maintenance in the firehouse, the township pays for that.
Correct.
For the most part. I know they do a lot of work themselves. In terms of the volunteer ambulance corps, that building, if, the cabinet falls off the wall, who is responsible at that point?
Okay, so a lease has to be looked at and gone over, but I tried to set it up where basically we would take care of it. We would take care of everything except for their individual equipment that they're using. But they're not required to do repairs. They can't do alterations without coming to the town. But we pay the insurance, we pay the gas, we pay the electric, we pay the water. Whatever they need to operate, the town is paying for. So they're just there, and they use the space, and they have it for 75 years, and as long as they're operating, it's theirs.
Okay.
And the town pays for the umbrella, so to speak.
And in terms of it doesn't change the way they operate as a volunteer organization?
No.
They're still an independent
Correct.
organization?
Correct. And there's a lease with them from the town. So they're still an organization, the town's still a town, and there's a lease.
It's $1 a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else, Mr. Allen? No. Okay. Anything else on the presentation, gentlemen?
Good job.
Thank you, Mr. Conley. Moving on in the agenda, ordinances, adoption, second reading, ordinance number 19-12, an ordinance establishing flood damage prevention provisions to minimize public and private losses due to flood conditions in specific areas within the Township of Washington. Resolution number 19-230, authorizing second reading and opening of public hearing for ordinance 19-12. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Oman?
Yes.
Council President?
Yes.
Senate.
Would anybody like to discuss ordinance 19-12? Seeing no one, motion to close public hearing for ordinance number 19-12.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Oman?
Yes.
Council President? Senate.
Yes. Motion to adopt ordinance number 19-12 at second reading by title.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Resolution number 19-231, emergency resolution ordinance 19-12. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Before we go,
Yes,
why
Mr.
is
Hall.
this considered an emergent condition?
Because the homeowners need it in effect in order to have their policies be renewed. Correct, Mr. Yukimin?
Yes.
The policies will be unable to be renewed unless we have this ordinance in effect.
They will not be able to buy coverage.
Yes.
And has anyone's coverage expired?
I can't answer that, but I know we have to adopt it by August 1st, I believe is the date, right?
I'm sorry.
It's August 1st is the date we need to have this?
It's a little later, it's August 28th.
Okay,
At the end of the
sorry.
month.
Okay.
So August 28th, so if we pass this without, it would go and be in effect in time?
We don't have an August meeting, so,
Yeah, you have an August meeting.
but yeah, we
Say
typically, yeah.
Well, I thought we're passing this
Tonight, if we pass it tonight, it'll be okay.
without the emergent.
Ken, I think we're into the 45.
You know, this is the kind of ordinance where you really shouldn't take a chance, because you can get penalized if this thing isn't in effect. You are passing it, you're passing it tonight. I've told you before about emergencies are not necessarily super emergencies, but this one actually does qualify, because you are at risk with DEP if you don't have this ordinance in effect. So, God forbid there's a storm, you have to cancel a meeting, you don't have a quorum, people are away on vacation. You're going to pass it, you voted on it now, there's absolutely no reason not to put this one in, of all of them. to put it.
Yeah.
So I hear what you're saying. I guess my question is, if we pass this tonight, we're passing it by the second reading, doesn't it go into effect in 20 days?
20 days from publication, yeah, but right, right, you're talking about no other action having to be done by the council.
Yes.
Yeah, 20 days.
Okay.
We'll go with that, yes.
All right.
Roll call?
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Introduction, first reading, ordinance number 19-13, bond ordinance providing for the construction of a new fire and emergency services facility in and by the Township of Washington in the County of Bergen, New Jersey, appropriating $6 million, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $5.714 million in bonds or notes of the Township for financing such appropriation. Do I have a motion to introduce and pass ordinance number 19-13 at first reading by title?
So moved.
Second.
I
So,
have one question, Mike.
Yes.
Resolution 19234 has to come before that. That's the cancellation of unexpended balances, because that's reducing the amount that we're actually borrowing on the bands.
Oh, that's,
That's got to be approved.
but that's the other ordinance I was told.
The other ordinance.
On the resolution that you have, 19234,
Yeah, it's for 1915.
19,
it pertains to all of them,
Oh, it pertains to all of
to
them.
all of them, right.
no,
It's a
just
it's a
for the other one.
reappropriation, and it's also, it's a cancellation and reappropriation, so it pertains to the bands and the reappropriation.
Okay.
That's got to come first.
So gentlemen, we're gonna,
what are you saying, Judy? I'm
we
sorry.
have to pass the
Resolution 19234.
234 has to come first.
The unfunded balances, and that's reducing the amount that we're borrowing on the bands. So that has to come first.
Okay, but when we're on the 6 million, and we approve, let's say we approve 6 million, the difference is the fees?
No, it's the cancellation of the other ordinances.
No, the 6 million and the
It's
6
the
million.
cancellation of the other ordinances. Resolution 234, which Judy says is out of order in our agenda, so we need to flip the page, one more page, and you go to resolution number 19-234, authorizing cancellation of unexpended balances of unfunded improvement authorizations. That's where Judy's getting all the money to reduce all the 6 million to 5.7. Correct, Judy?
Right, we're paying things down, and we're also canceling.
Okay, so let's,
So I'm going to remove ordinance 19-13 and go to resolution number 19-234, authorizing cancellation of unexpended balances of unfunded improvement authorizations. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, can we just, hang on one
Yes.
second? So the 57, I got my calculator here. What's the difference, so I don't have to do it? 5714 minus 6 million is what? 286?
All day. All day, 286, yes.
So where's the 286?
It's coming out of all the
No, I
cancellations.
understand that, but where,
No, you have the bond ordinances, you have the bond ordinances coming up, and then you have the cancellation, but they all go together, because you're doing 2 bond ordinances, and you're doing reappropriation, and you're doing the ban, so you're doing those 4 together.
But we need to cancel them
So I
first.
think you should do the cancellation first.
So it's out of order on our agenda.
All right.
You don't have to renumber it, you can just leave it.
No, we're just gonna leave it, we're just
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
skip, we're just gonna skip.
So I made a motion.
Mr. Cumming, you made it, you seconded
I
it?
did.
Any other discussion, Mr. Bruno?
yeah, I'm just trying to see.
234?
234, Mr. Ullman, yes.
Right. So that's the, we're canceling the unexpended balances of unfunded.
Yes.
And how much is that? Is that the difference, the full 286? That's my question. I don't think it is, right? No.
You have the 2 bond ordinances, okay? But the cancellation is decreasing.
Trudy, could you just bring the microphone
sorry.
closer, please?
You have the 2 bond ordinances, right? But the cancellation is decreasing the amount of the bans, and it's also the reappropriation. So I felt that it should go before, because you have three ordinances, and then you have 1 resolution for the bans.
Okay, so on your schedule, you have total unfunded improvement authorization. So what we're authorizing to be canceled is reappropriated is 722,000.
No, you're canceling 95,694, and you're reappropriating the 316,
16?
I believe it is.
No, I have that. I have it here, but I'm just trying to see what this 234. So we're canceling unexpended balances. So how much is that?
You're canceling 95,694,
Yep.
and you're reappropriating 389,712. The first 2 ordinances are full ordinances, like the
Okay,
first
hold on.
one.
So the 316 and the 72, right? So those 3 numbers pertain to resolution number 19234?
Yes,
Okay, so the 222 and the 13 are something else.
yes, the 1913 is a regular bond ordinance, and the reason why it's 5714, because you have your down payment, okay? The second bond ordinance is the same thing, you have a down payment involved.
Yeah, I
But the
just
renewal of
want-
the bans and the reappropriation has to do with the cancellation of the unexpended balances.
So 389, 712 is the 316 and the 72.
Yes,
And where's the 95? Where's that number
the
showing up?
95 is on that schedule
On
that
the
you
schedule
have.
right here, Bob.
No, is it anywhere here? And cancellation, where are we canceling that?
It's right, it's in resolution
It's in the
234.
resolution
It's in the
itself.
resolution, it's
That's
95,694 is
on page
being
4.
canceled.
This is what's canceled.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm asking, but this number, then it's not this number, though.
This is the...
The 389 does not include the 95.
No, they're 2 separate issues.
Right, so my
The
question
389
is,
reappropriation.
so the 234, we're canceling the 389 and the 95.
Right, the cancellation for the 95 is to reduce the amount of the bans.
I get that.
Okay, and then the reappropriation.
So Judy
for the-
just wanted us to do 234 first, so this way it was canceled first.
Okay.
That's what she's
You have to
asking for.
do that before you go on to approve the bans and the reappropriation.
Okay.
Roll call on 19-234?
Okay?
Yep, let's do it.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
No.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Okay, now I'm going to go back to the normal agenda, go back to 19-13.
But, okay, so I'm still missing the cancellation of the 95,000. Where's that?
That's
That's
two-
what you
That's what
we
we
just
just
did, 234.
You did that because you're reducing the amount.
Yeah, but that's not the amount. The amount is 389, 712.
It's a,
No,
di- it's a
399
different,
is
it's
a
a different one.
reappropriation.
This is a whole, this is a resolution, that's an ordinance. This
Yeah,
pertains
but
to,
this,
that 95, this sheet,
okay.
okay? So you're canceling that out because we're
Oh,
not using it,
234,
right?
fine,
So
okay,
that's
never
gone.
mind, got it.
Got
Okay,
it?
I didn't have that in front of me.
No problem.
Now?
Yes.
It's weird because they stuck the
Yep,
resolution
yep,
in between the two.
Yep, yep, yep.
So,
So Ordinance, introduction of the first reading, ordinance number 19-13. So good, we're going to do it again. Bond ordinance providing for the construction of a new firehouse and emergency services facility in and by the Township of Washington in the County of Bergen, New Jersey, appropriating $6 million therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $5.714 million in bonds or notes of the Township for financing such appropriation. Motion to introduce and pass ordinance number 19-13 at first reading by title. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
But, I have, again, we have this $6 million number out there, or $6,081,000, right? Is it 6 million or 6,081,000?
Up there, 6,081,000, I believe.
But we're going 6 millions in the bond ordinance.
So what are we bonding, 6,081,000 or 6 million?
Well, we're borrowing 6 million,
Says
but we
6
do have
million
some
right
money
here.
still in our capital account,
So the 81,000 is coming from where?
capital improvement fund. That money.
And how much is in that?
Offhand, I don't know, but I put in 550,000 alone this year.
Yeah, we put
I gave it
550
to
into it.
this
It's
year alone,
550K
so.
in it, so. Any other discussion, Mr. Bruno?
How, are these being funded by bands initially?
No, these are bonds.
This is
The
permanent?
bonds.
This is permanent financing.
Financing.
What's the duration?
30.
No, this is on the Lumet schedule, Mike, that you should have gotten. You weren't here,
actually
but
have
did
the
you get
bond
it? Did they
ordinance.
send it to you?
No, it should-
It's
It's
actually
not
in the
here.
bond ordinance itself,
it should say, shouldn't it say it in the,
It'll say it in the bond ordinance
It's on
itself.
page 3, about halfway down the page.
30 years?
The usefulness of this said purpose is 30 years, John.
30 years,
It is in the packet.
right.
It's
It's on
B,
page 3
On
B.
page 3,
of 1913, yes.
30
It is here.
section 4B.
Yes.
30 years.
Thank you, Mr. DeSanto.
You're welcome, Mr.
And then all the other ancillary costs will be, I guess we'll have to next year budget for it.
Ancillary, but what do you?
No, furniture and miscellaneous,
If any is
everything else
required,
that's
anything
gotta
that's
get,
required.
anything else that's gotta get in there.
They're going to walk 50 feet from one door to another and carry the chair to the next building when it's done.
well,
I don't know what
there's
that
quite a
means.
few.
Well, they got a furnished firehouse now.
Yeah, but the
So they're gonna
firehouse
keep
is
all the furniture then?
it's under,
There's other available good furniture, I believe.
My question, my point
My
is
fairy
that next
godmother
year.
told me.
All right, well, how much did she gonna give you, your fairy godmother?
No, the furniture.
No. My point is that this, all I'm saying is next year we have to budget for all the ancillary costs. There was a comment.
That is a
Okay,
possibility.
received.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Bruno, that is,
Thank you.
that is a
Gratefully
possibility.
received.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Mr. Allman, anything?
no,
Roll call?
Councilman Bruno.
Yes.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilman Cumming.
Yes.
Councilman Ullman.
no.
Council President Senna.
Yes. Resolution number 19-232, authorizing publication of ordinance number 19-13 and schedule a public hearing. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Where are we now?
This is
Sorry.
just the next line
Okay.
on the same
Yeah,
ordinance.
Yep.
Roll call?
Councilman Bruno.
Hang on, I'm sorry. I was not home, so I'm looking at this for the first time. So this is, what are we doing here now?
Just you're going to have a public hearing on it.
This is the same one?
Yeah, same ordinance.
Okay, yes. Yes,
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilman Cumming.
Yes.
Councilman Ullman.
Yes.
Council President Senna.
Yes. Ordinance number 19-14, bond ordinance appropriating $4,288,650 and authorizing the issuance of $3,977,000 in bonds or notes of the township for various improvements or purposes authorized to be undertaken by the Township of Washington in the County of Bergen, New Jersey. Motion to introduce and pass ordinance number 19-14 at first reading by title.
and this, oh, I'm sorry.
This is 19-14, Mr.
Yeah, no, I got it, but we'll take a roll call before discussion, so, yes, motion.
Your motion here?
Yeah.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Dr. Casio.
So the 4
Discussion.
million, the 4,288,000 is, what's that stand for now?
If you look at page 2,
All
3,
the attached stuff.
DNR
and
facility.
4 of 19-14. It is $250,000 for the fiber optic network we put in the budget this year. It is substantial reconditioning of fire apparatus for use by the township for $650,000. That's a new fire truck. It is $1.01 million for various streets, parking lots, and others. Reconstruction for roadways. The construction of a DMF building for $1.3 million. Acquisition of another pickup truck, a dump truck, and acquisition of purchases of radios for $750,000. And improvements of municipally owned facilities buying the new bleachers we put into the capital, into the budget this year. So it's all the budget items that we put in for this year.
So $1 million should come from our school fund, so the $1.3 million should be 300, right? Because we agreed at the budget that we would take $1 million from the school fund and put it toward the DMF?
It was discussed, it was never formally,
No, I think it was pretty formal.
was it formal?
I think it was pretty formal.
Actually, I think you even said we could take $1 million, it would be 300 instead of $1 million.
No, but I don't know if we took formal action on it.
We
I
did.
remember talking about it.
We did, because that was the big question, what are we gonna use the $1 million for? So we said we'd use it for the DMF.
Correct.
So this has to be changed and revised?
Or do we just borrow $1 million less on this
You
one?
borrow $1 million less. and
So
then
don't you have
cancel
to
the
change it
ordinance.
so that it's not 4 million too, why not?
You wouldn't have to change it, you could just borrow less. And then you would cancel that out.
So these are for permanent funding bonds, correct?
Yes, these are for permanent bonds of 20, these are for
15
No, I'm sorry,
15
no,
years, Mike.
This would be, I'm sorry, this would be, yes, I'm sorry. I'm thinking bands, no, it would be.
Yeah.
It'd have to be redone if you want to use the $1 million.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, I don't really want to get into the game we got before, where we have things authorized and outstanding and funded and unexpended.
No, in this case, you couldn't
I mean,
do
we
it. It's
just
permanent.
cleaned
It
up
had to be done.
700,000.
Mr. Pollard, can we make this $3,288,000 and then revise it and take a roll call on it?
No, that's not a minor change.
No, it's got to be redone, I think.
No, I think you'd have to redo it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so too.
And can you explain the difference between, for lack of a better term, column A, appropriations and estimated cost, versus column B, estimated maximum amount of bonds and notes? The difference between the two is $311,000?
Because what, because the 4.28 is actually what the authorization for the bond ordinance is, but you're only borrowing the right column because you have your down payment.
Okay.
So I make a motion to table 19-14 until it's
Mr. President?
revised. Well, excuse me?
Just so you're aware, the road program is in that ordinance.
That's why I wanted
So
to
move
change it,
for
but I
the
don't know,
delay.
I wanted to change it, but it's gonna delay our road program by an additional month, or we have to have an August meeting now because,
We have an August meeting, we'll stop.
Will the funding be there in time? That's the question.
no, it will
No,
not.
we won't pay it this year.
All right, if that's the case,
No, but wait a minute, don't we have money still floating around that you just reallocated for all these roads? You just took out money from all the stuff we closed to use for roads, which can start.
Well, I think
We're not
we're
gonna
going to
get
have,
very
the
far than
road
we
program's
have.
going to be a lot more than
I
that.
know that.
Yeah.
Again, we agree on something and then it's wrong. This is not what we got, so.
It's a mistake, and, I understand we don't want to get into the same pattern that we have in the past where we fund extra and we gotta cancel stuff out. I get that, I agree with you, Bob. This is a mistake that happened, and now that we're aware of it, we're gonna be on top of it, I hope, at least the five of us, and we'll make sure it's canceled, but I don't want to put the roads in jeopardy for an error, and if
Well, the
that's
only
the
thing
case.
is, the way this is worded, it's talking about bonds or notes, but we had decided we were going to go permanent financing.
Correct.
So if we're going permanent, then I would think it would have to change.
Yes, I agree.
Because, I mean, what, are we going to borrow $1 million for 15 years?
We just canceled 700,000, so
Is that
can't
gonna-
change it.
Is that gonna?
Well, can't we do an emergency thing? We're into that.
Well, couldn't it be revised and then put it on for next month? I mean,
But that's gonna,
Is that gonna throw off, Mr. Toa, is that gonna throw off our road program?
It is, yes.
yeah.
how
Delay it by a
quickly,
year?
can we revise this tonight and skip it for now? And Judy can go upstairs and revise it, or is
This
this?
is bond.
Oh, this
that's
is bond,
bond, that's
this is bond council, okay.
Bond council.
Then we gotta wait.
This is
All right, okay. Motion to table 19-14. Do I have a motion?
Back to the kitchen.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Yes.
Yes.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes.
And for item B, since
Item
we're-
B, Mike?
since we're going back,
Yep.
are we substantial reconditioning of fire apparatus? Are we reconditioning it, or are we buying a new one?
That was for a new one.
It says further down, including the acquisition and purchase. I think it was just to leave both options, but
Well, I mean, if we're gonna buy a new one, I think it should say that. If we're reconditioning something, it should say that. I don't think it's either or.
No, it is not either or. We're buying a new one. So Judy, can you make those two comments to the bond council? The $1.3 million should be 300 with the $1 million coming from,
That's not a problem.
You could
always do
prepay bonds?
that. You could always, you could always pay more on these. There's no
Pay the
penalty.
principal down now.
all right, gentlemen, we're going to table 19-14, and if we can get this resolved by Thursday, this way it won't delay the road program.
Cool.
And the fire truck. Moving on, ordinance number 19-15, ordinance providing for various improvements or purposes to be undertaken by the Township of Washington and the County of Bergen, New Jersey, and appropriating $389,712 therefore, constituting proceeds of obligations of the Township heretofore issued. Motion to introduce and pass ordinance number 19-15 at first reading by title.
Motion.
So moved.
Roll call.
Councilman Bruno?
Oh,
Before,
yes, Mike.
so this is the reappropriation, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. This is 19-15.
This one.
All right.
So basically, we ended up using and canceling over $400,000 for current better use, correct?
That is correct, Mr. Bruno.
Basically, yeah.
Yes.
My dream come true? No?
Yes.
No,
I think tonight,
I don't think so.
What?
You didn't think my dream came true?
No, because we're canceling unfunded and we're reappropriating unfunded.
No,
So,
it's funded unused.
no.
Yeah. This is money that's out there that we funded and paying, we never used it. We're paying debt on this.
Then why would we, oh, is that correct?
Right, we borrowed it, but now we're using it to pay down. That's why, if you look at the schedule.
yeah. This is money we have on hand, correct?
Right, if you looked at the schedule for the
Yes,
bands,
Mr. Bruno, this is
okay?
your dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
We finally made it happen, Mr.
I'll
Bruno.
tell you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Finally.
So how is the 722? So when I look at the 722, Exhibit A,
Right.
Schedule Improvement Authorizations, unfunded balance as of 12/31/18.
It's just 722 for, do you have the schedule?
Yeah.
Okay, right? So if you look at it, the amount to be canceled is 95,694, which reduces the amount of the bands. The reappropriated for the roads is 316,837. Reappropriated for equipment is 72,875. The ordinances that we're leaving open for other products is 222,952. The other open ordinance for roads is 13,877, and you come down to the total of 722,235.
Okay, but I guess,
So the ones 16, 17, 18, Mike, we're leaving now. We've got the money, haven't done anything with it.
Correct.
All
Right.
the other ones, we have the money, the projects are done, and now we're taking the money back or canceling it.
so maybe I just don't understand what the term unfunded means.
No, it's funded unused. It's not, I know, it's funded unused is what it should be.
What it means is that you borrowed it as bands.
No, but it's funded unused.
It's unfunded unused is what it is, because it's through bands, which is not permanent financing. So you already borrowed the money.
But we have the money
So
on
it's
hand.
just, right, so it's just sitting there.
Correct.
So now we're reappropriating some, and then we're canceling some to bring down the amount of bands that we're renewing.
Is that what the schedule, I didn't bring the financials. Is that what the C6 schedule says?
Yes. The concept is hard to understand, but
Well,
basically what you were saying is true.
the
We
concept's
borrowed-
easy, it's the terminology.
We
that's-
borrowed the money,
Yeah.
not through permanent financing, through actually it's temporary financing.
Yep.
But we've already borrowed that money, so now we're using it, because we didn't
Yep.
use it in the past.
Okay.
So this, we have $389,000 sitting in the bank
Yep.
Yes.
We're paying interest on it.
that we're paying interest on, and we never used for the projects that,
Right, exactly, right.
okay.
And the 95.
Since 13, 14, 15, and 16.
All right, everybody good with this one? Roll call?
Councilman Bruno?
Yep.
Councilman Casio?
Yes?
Councilman Cumming?
Yes,
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes.
thanks God.
Thank you. Resolution number 19-235, authorizing publication of ordinance number 19-15 and schedule a public hearing. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes?
Councilman Cumming?
Yes,
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Consent agenda, all of the following items have been determined to have the unanimous consent of council and will be enacted in one motion. Should any item require independent consideration, any council member may have such item removed from the consent agenda. Resolution number 19-236, authorize issuance of not exceeding $5,630,000 bond anticipation notes. Resolution number 19-237, authorize the advertisement for bids for the 2019 road program. Resolution number 19-238, authorize the advertisement for bids for bocce ball courts at Senior Citizen Park. Resolution number 19-239, authorize the advertisements for bids for basketball courts at Memorial and Gardner Fields. Resolution number 19-240, authorize refund balance of escrow monies, Block 2209, Lot 4, 747 White Birch Road, in the amount of $258.50. Resolution number 19-241, authorize refund of escrow monies to Joseph M. Simsari, Inc. for the completed road and pipe repair work on Linwood Avenue at Parkway Court in the amount of $2,263.44. Resolution number 19-242, authorize refund of overpaid taxes, Block 3407, Lot 14, 94 Sussex Road, in the amount of $550. Resolution number 19-243, recognition of the Bergen County American Legion Centennial. Would anybody like any removed, or can we have a motion to grant them all?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment after we,
Do I have a motion?
I have a motion.
I'd like 238 pulled out.
Well, that's what I was going to talk about.
Huh?
You want 238 pulled out?
Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about.
Okay.
but that's-
So pull out.
So everything but 238, gentlemen. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
second.
Roll call, with excluding 238.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes?
Councilman Cumming?
Yes,
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Discussion on 238?
you got
Yeah.
something against bocce?
Yeah, you know,
Waste of money.
well, to Mr. Bruno's point, not that anything for, Parks and Recreation will waste the money, but we have, bocce ball courts that have been there since at least 1983, that basically went into disrepair because no one uses them, and then to advertise and basically give very, very little touch-up to a park that probably needs some drastic overhaul for repurpose and reuse, I'm not really a fan of, to be quite honest with you. I'm sure that park could have been better utilized for other things. And again, I like bocce ball, I'm pretty good with the Bellini, but again, that's just my feeling.
Well, shame on us. We got a grant. We paid our engineer to design the
I know.
bocce ball courts.
But here's the thing, we had an engineer that designs the bocce ball courts in the whole park, and as a council, as a town, no one really had input on how to change that particular park to make it, I think, more user-friendly.
Okay.
I'm obviously gonna vote for it because any improvement is great, and we've got the grant already, but that's just my say on that topic.
All right.
It could have been repurposed a little bit better. And I would challenge you for the first game, Mr. Cumming, okay?
I thought you were gonna challenge me to repurpose the park.
Well, let's at least play, since we're having
That's
the
more
court
than
anyway, let's have a
No,
game.
I'm not good at
All right,
bocce.
gentlemen. Any other comments on
At
238?
least I don't know.
Mr. Bruno?
Yeah, I mean, we can't repurpose this money for something else?
The grant was for reconstruction of the
It's
park.
for the bocce. Why don't we-
And that's what we applied for, that's what we received, that's what we paid our engineer to design.
I think
and
I've
that's what
just
he did.
challenged myself to repurpose the park, so
Okay.
we'll work on that next.
Let's work
Is
on
that
it.
okay?
Yeah.
Maybe we can build a small one and then use the rest for something else?
All right,
I
gentlemen.
think the park, I think the way, the plan that I saw last was basically the same footprint, if I'm not
Correct,
mistaken.
yeah.
This footprint hasn't changed. If we're-
Yeah, no,
If we're spending money on that to just redo an old plan, I'm a little disappointed. but
All right.
You know how much the grant was for?
80s
Do we have the grant, Mr.?
$30,000.
$30,000.
matching, right? Is it matching?
Yes.
For the whole...
Bocce ball. All the-
Bocce ball thing?
No, it's not just, it's,
The whole
we're calling,
park,
it's the
right?
whole park.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
there's,
it.
there's
That's
new
fine.
pavers going in,
Yeah,
there's more than,
okay.
we
Got
we
it,
shouldn't
Yep,
just
yep.
pick on the bocce part of it,
No,
there's
I
more
know.
going in
I got
there.
it.
But it's the same footprint, basically.
Yes.
Improved same footprint. It's a pain.
Motion for 238 at 10:15 at night?
So moved.
Second.
It's early, yeah.
Roll call?
Councilman Bruno,
Yes.
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Cummings,
Yes.
Councilman Ullman,
Yes.
Council President DeSenza.
Yes, thank you. Couple public service announcements, Town Hall summer hours, the mayor described, Monday, 8:30 to 7:30, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 8:30 to 4:30, Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. New hours pertain specifically to the following departments: the clerk, Board of Health, registrar, CFO, tax collector, purchasing, building, planning, and zoning. Tax bills, the township has not yet received its tax rate from the county of Bergen. We cannot prepare annual bills until we receive our rate. The grace period for payment will be extended 25 days from the date the bills are mailed. 2019 Summer Concert Series, the township will be hosting our second summer concert this Friday, July 19th at 7 p.m., featuring Rubik's Cube. Bring your chairs, visit the website for additional information. Township paper shredding and e-recycling event will take place on July 20th from 9 to 12 in Town Hall parking lot. Mosquito control public notice. In compliance with Section 9.10 of the New Jersey Pesticide Control Code, the Bergen County Department of Public Works Mosquito Control Division will be applying pesticides for the control and reduction of adult mosquito populations on an area-wide basis as needed throughout Bergen County during the period from April 30th, 2019 to October 31st, 2019. For more information, please contact the Bergen County Mosquito Control Program at 201-634-2880 or 201-634-2881. The municipal building will be closed temporarily tomorrow morning for electrical work and will open at 10:30 a.m. on July 16, 2019. Motion to adjourn to conference agenda.
Out of curiosity, any negative feedback on summer hours?
We got all positive feedbacks that they were here, a couple weddings coming in late. Building department being open late is a great thing, I've heard.
Okay, good.
Motion to adjourn to conference?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Mr. Tovo, the project tracker on the conference agenda?
Okay, sir, beginning page 1, capital projects, for items 1 and 2, the township engineer is present for any questions you may have. ADA curb cuts, PO is being issued to Vergio Construction. As a matter of fact, we're waiting on information from the contractors. We can put them in the system as a vendor, so right now the wait's on them, but we are on their list. The 2 trucks, no change in status there, no change in breathalyzer. Radio system, pricing models are being reviewed and leveled to ensure that there's a fair evaluation process.
When are we expecting that report, Mr. Tovo?
I had to provide a little bit more information to make sure everything is leveled. I would think it'll be about another 30 days before we have concrete
So
path.
September 1st, is that a fair date?
Reasonable, yes.
Thank you.
No change in DNF building. Basketball courts, the specs are almost ready to go. We have the permission to go out to bid. I expect us to wrap this up and put it out very soon. Signage, we're having a little difficulty with the second vendor that we want pricing from, but we are starting to move forward with that. Firehouse, we have our update tonight. No change on Memorial Field. Personnel, a new clerk started in the police department on 7-1. Our grant writer is working with our department heads to
Has, Mr. Tova, excuse me, has Judy reviewed that we have enough money in the budget since that was delayed and we need to check that line item, Judy, and make sure there's enough budget in that line item.
Okay.
which line item is that?
Well, we were gonna have the overlap, right? Are we still gonna have the overlap between the old municipal violations clerk, not the municipal, the old police records clerk and the new, so there, I think it's gonna be.
Yeah, I think with the other steps that are going forward, that won't be an issue.
Okay, thank you.
Grant writer is working with department heads and scheduling meetings to determine their needs, identify the grants that would best suit what they need to do. Town hall light upgrades due to drainage, still working with the contractor to get on the schedule. The needs have already been established, just need to get the work started now that the weather is improved. Paving of Washington and Ridgewood, no change there. WCTV, all equipment has been,
Mr. Tova, I'm sorry, do we have a tentative date for those two pavings of the county roads?
right now, we're looking at the fall paving cycle
Of 19.
of 19.
Of this year, okay.
So as long as they don't get behind or weather doesn't get in their way, that is the plan.
When they say fall, are we talking like September fall or like November fall?
October.
I would say October, yes.
Okay, thank you.
But there is a dependency on the ADA.
That is correct, Mr.
Right.
Rowland.
And Reggio, we're looking to get scheduled.
We're in their queue. There's 2 current projects. We're third on the list.
What's their
So they
ETA?
expect July, August for us to.
July, August?
Okay. The WCTV upgrades have been ordered?
A lot of the equipment is already in. I think the server is still the one piece they're waiting for. DMF pay machine, I'm sure you noticed when you came in tonight, it's ready to put the good use on the parking lot. Township computer server, I thought it had been ordered by our IT person, but it still has to work out some specs, so that will be ordered shortly. Access control has been wired. Door strikes will go in probably starting next week. Courtroom security upgrades, getting updated quotes to move forward on that. I believe we got the last one we needed this morning, so we can move forward on that as well. And new flags for council, they've been ordered. We just need to confirm the color of the township flag, so we provided them one of our old flags. They can code it properly.
Looks blue.
I was just advised by Ricky, the WCTV survey was delivered and they're prepping it for configuration.
Good to hear.
So new WCTV coming shortly on TV, no more looping forever, and thank you, Ricky.
So perhaps I missed it, the intersection?
Mr. Yakimic's gonna come up and describe, and do the intersection and the ADA, yes, right, Mr. Yakimic?
Intersection, yes.
Okay.
Whatever the council pleases.
At this time would be a good time.
Okay. John Yakimic, Boswell Engineering, Washington Township Engineer Representative. We met last week with the County of Bergen. We brought our alignment. We're trying at the time to avoid any easements to be taken from any property owners. One in particular immediately to the east of the Exxon station and immediately to the north of the Exxon station. However, upon meeting with the county assistant engineer, the avoidance of those 2 easements is not going to be possible. What I suggested to the mayor and to the administrator is that I, as the engineer, visit these 2, or at least one of the 2 property owners, the owner to the east of.
That's the remaining house that used to be next to our red house, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And that I explained to the property owner in very layman's terms what we are looking to do in the front. It's a very, very minor easement. It's minor to me. It might not be minor to the homeowner. I don't want to create panic and a stir from the homeowner. I want to approach this from 64,000 feet when I talk to the homeowner. It's basically to allow the sidewalk that is kind of already there to exist. Right now, the property line goes through the sidewalk,
We tried looking at shifting everything across the street towards the bridal shop and the vacant piece of land there. That was not possible, or the county did not accept that type of shifting. The other property that I talked about to the north, that is dependent on what Coach Bus Lines is going to want as far as offloading of their passengers. I've asked the administrator to get a meeting with Coach Van Lines immediately or as soon as possible so we could discuss what their needs will be at the intersection to make sure that we properly design for them.
Are we still including the Seasons design of the commuter lot there, or is that off the table at this time?
That is not part of our design.
Because I believe their design shows the commuter bus pulling
And it
into the
does.
parking lot.
It does.
So that would eliminate that easement, requiring that easement.
That is correct, because then the bus lines can go into that facility. That's what we're picturing, and that would eliminate the need for that easement.
So then we would only need one easement if that was still.
That is correct.
Mr. Mayor, can we get a response maybe from the owner to see where we are on that?
Yeah, of course.
I'm sorry, when you talk about the coach line and the bus on the north side, are you talking about the bus hut area?
Yes.
Yes.
And what about on the south side where he drops them off going home?
We want to eliminate that, and we want to take the buses off the street so that they're not blocking traffic. But we need to know what their operations are and what they're comfortable with operating through the intersection.
So you'd want them to pull into the lot
Yes.
Yes.
and then pull out where? Because they make a left turn at that light. They go north.
North on Pascack.
Yeah.
Correct. We would want them to make as much of the operations off of the right-of-way as possible and in that lot.
But then if they go north, they'd have to come out on.
Make a right, you make a right.
Or they make a left.
A left, you're right, a left, yeah. going
Right,
north,
so
yeah.
they would have to come out onto Pascack, which goes north and south. They would have to go directly across from the gas station?
No, it's up by, what's the street?
Are you gonna move it all the way up? You're gonna
As
move
far
it, you're gonna move
away
it up
from
into
the
those
intersection.
houses?
Yes.
Ah, okay.
As far away from the intersection as
Clinton.
possible.
Yeah, okay.
That's the ideal. And if that doesn't work, then we start looking at easements and bump outs for the buses so that they could get off of the roadway and not block traffic.
So is the idea that the circulation is in the parking lot?
Yes.
So the bus would come east on Washington, make a left on Pascack, make a left into the lot.
And then circulate, or have a drop-off area, and then turn around and come back out the same.
Come back out and make a left crossing the
Yeah.
traffic.
Across north
But
on
it's a
Pascack.
four-way intersection at that point, the way it's reconfigured like that. Clinton has a four-way, it's like a four-way intersection.
And the question I have about the house to the east, what, do we know what the size of the easement we're looking for? What's going to happen to that homeowner's property?
It's a movement of the curb a few feet and the movement of the sidewalk a few feet at most. There's a lot of landscaping there, and that's why I want to go to explain to the homeowner in layman's terms, your sidewalk instead of being here will be here, the curb instead of being here will be here.
It's gonna move closer to them?
Yes.
It will, yes.
So now you have the bus foot traffic too, just so you know. And the commuter parking and the bus traffic are gonna be walking on his front door now.
Well, not if the commuter lot is on the corner.
No, they have to park, the commuter
No, they
parking.
would park in the new lot, we're talking about that, we were just talking to Mr. Holman.
And not travel to the
Not travel
firehouse.
through the firehouse, because the new lot
Oh,
will
we're
be
gonna
on
have,
the corner.
we're gonna have parking lot there, commuter parking there?
Yes.
Yes.
That's done?
No, that's the plan we
That's the-
received a few
that's
months
the
ago.
plan.
That's the plan you were emailed, showing the proposed commuter lot being on the corner.
That's the
Across the
plan
street.
that we're working
The
towards.
Seasons property?
Correct, yes.
We have that? That's done? That's a done deal?
Well, their engineer gave us a design, and the mayor is going to see where the status of that design is.
No, but he's approved to,
He was going to the DEP, the last we heard, that's what he was waiting for.
for the buffer that's associated with that water body.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
All moving.
No, I know
And
that.
in order to encroach on that buffer what we need to do, it has to be a public use. So therefore, the incorporation of the commuter lot there as a public use is very advantageous to encroach on that buffer and get the parking spaces we needed on that lot.
And we'd have 200 and some spaces then for commuters, which is
Yeah,
incredible.
that's great.
It's a great idea.
Mr. John, how many few feet is the residence affected by?
I don't know, standing here. My impression from Gary Ascalese and the engineers that are working on this is that it is 1 or 2. If it's something different, I will come back to this board if need be.
If you're standing there, you're like Toulouse-Lautrec.
Yes, yes.
Never mind. If Mr. Ascalese says 2 feet or 3 feet, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
that's the magnitude I've been told.
That's not even a few, that's a couple.
And what about the easement for the north, on the other side of the gas station, northbound Pascack?
That is dependent on what the bus company tells us
Oh, wait,
as
no, no,
as
that's
their
right, yes,
needs.
you did
If they
mention
need a bump out for northbound truck buses, then we're definitely going to need an easement. If we could handle the buses entirely within that lot.
And did you get an estimate for that easement at this point?
It would be significantly more than the few feet.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, so we're just waiting for the...
It's enough to put you need a sidewalk and maybe a little buffer, so maybe 5 feet.
Okay.
I'm saying, you're getting in the realm of,
Well, there's no sidewalk there at present.
That's correct.
It's a very high slope. It's a very narrow piece of land between the roadway and the structure, if I'm correct. So, yeah, it's, hopefully
easements.
hopefully they'll work it out.
Easements are the linchpin to any project.
I would hope it would be north of that.
I'm sorry?
I would hope it would be further north.
What would be further north? I'm sorry.
The bus,
Further north is the
well-
bus stop. You know,
It's
on
just-
it's
the
northbound.
one, yeah, northbound.
Yeah, it's
They
just-
stop
yes,
and let people off at Lee
yes, but,
to come into us,
yeah, but that is not,
into the development.
But a cutout.
that doesn't have a
No, there's no cutout there.
slope, but it doesn't have a high slope.
You're talking about the property immediately adjacent to the gas station, is that correct?
He's talking
That's
about
correct.
Caesar, he's talking about Caesar's property, the
No,
three big, he's
no, it's
talking
on the
about the
other
three,
side.
he's talking about the three
Talking
houses.
about the other side
the
of
other
the
side.
street.
Good side.
On the other side.
But
The other
they
side.
wouldn't put the bus stop south of McKinley? Wouldn't they put it on the other side or one block up?
We have to talk, like I said,
Okay.
we're trying to
Talk to them.
schedule a meeting with the
I
bus
thought you wanted to
company
bring it in north
to
of
find
it.
out what their needs are. I want that bus
You need
stop
to,
far away from the intersection,
Sure.
but close enough
That
to
we could use.
the parking. So maybe I misspoke. Maybe it's not necessarily a cutout there, but it's a sidewalk to lead people from the bus to where they need to go.
Okay, that's a little bit different. Okay, that clarifies it. Because that is a big slope right next to the gas station.
So I'm sorry.
Okay.
To your point, the cutout would be
more north.
further, but it's the sidewalk for the people being
What you
let
need
off
the
the
easement
bus
for.
to get to where they need to go.
Gotcha.
I'm sorry.
Okay, that's all right.
That's a problem.
When you say you're dealing with Coach, you're dealing with Jersey Transit, right? 'Cause
No, I believe it's Coach.
That's the bus line, but it's all owned by Jersey Transit.
That's what I need to find out. I need to talk to somebody.
It's Jersey Transit you'd have to talk to.
If it's New Jersey Transit,
Yep.
I thought that they're two separate.
It's a Rockland Coach owned by Coach USA.
yes.
But they're all owned Jersey Transit, I think.
They approve the routes, but they can cancel routes whenever they deem appropriate. So we've been trying to contact them ever since that occurred, so, excuse me, they're very non-responsive.
Oh, they're horrible. It's the worst bus line in Bergen County.
Can't even,
So-
they
Yes, they don't
so-
show up. They decide not to show up, they
maybe-
don't show
maybe-
up.
don't answer the phones either.
Yeah.
Maybe to Mr. Bruno's point, maybe a little leverage from transit, would that help here maybe? in getting
Possibly.
there?
Either help from them or a knock on the door.
Okay,
So, having said that,
yes.
and understanding that there are two potential, or one certain issue, which is the house, the Gold House, I think it is, Gold?
That's the one next to the gas station.
Yes. And then a second issue, which may be mitigated slightly based on the circulation, if the commuter lot is developed. We've been talking about this for a long, long time. Like, are we gonna see a shovel in the ground tomorrow, a month from now?
Not tomorrow,
Not tomorrow, okay.
and
Not a month.
not a month from now.
Thank you for a definitive answer.
We're working on next year.
That's great.
We've received, a very good sign is that we've received interlocal services agreement from the county. I believe that was transmitted, and that's a very good sign, because that means that the county is serious about funding this for construction.
So that's the agreement that our former mayor refused to sign, that stopped the whole project, so.
And what has to happen also is what we could start, and when I first came here back in January, we talked about utility relocations. And that is something we would like to see before the end of the year. Some of the alignment tweaking we've been doing, and Gary Ascalese has been doing, is to save the number of poles that have to be moved. Only because, public service will move them at their cost for a road widening, but some very common sense tweaking limits the numbers of poles that have to be moved. And it makes public service a good neighbor that, hey, listen, public service, we did our best to minimize the number of poles that have to be moved. So we've sent it out to the utility companies. They're on board as far as knowledge of the project. We're waiting for their plans to come back to confirm their facilities. And at that, we're hoping in the next couple of months to actually meet with them out in the field and actually show them where we would like those poles moved as part of the project. And then they could fund their money for the movement of those poles and hopefully get that done before the end of the year. So as far as activity out there that the public could see, that's the best that we're working on right now.
I think that would be great.
So if have we received the interlocal, Mr. Tova?
We have not.
Okay. Could we check on the status of that, Mr. Yakimic?
I
where it
will.
is?
My understanding was it was before the freeholders, I believe.
So it may have not.
We got a draft copy of what the freeholders would be looking at
Right, and that.
Mr. Mayor, you'll execute that as soon as you receive it?
the minute it walks in the door.
Thank you. Just want to
John,
confirm.
I saw the utility mark-out person at the intersection 3 weeks ago, unless he lifted the jacket in the coffee shop. He had a safety vest on that said utilities, and he was with the paint, with the wheel, with the marking.
That wasn't me, because I go out there a lot.
No, it wasn't, it was shorter, and
Okay.
more my height.
Any other questions for Mr. Yakimic?
No? Can you keep us appraised of the status of your talks with the,
Absolutely. I understand this is on the tip of everybody's nose. I understand.
How does the acquisition occur? Do we have a price? Have we started that process yet?
No.
No. How I like to do it, and it happens, is that we approach it from 64,000 feet. I go out there, and explain to the homeowner, this is what we're looking at. You will be receiving some documents in the future. If we get any opposition from the homeowner, we deal with it as we go forward. But I presume there'll be some sort of appraisal. We have it in our proposal to give the precise dimensions of what we need to the town attorney, gives it to the appraisal and the fair market value of what that easement amount is. And then we communicate that to the property owner, and hopefully we strike a deal.
Would you educate me? I have never heard or had anyone use the expression approaching something from 64,000 feet?
That's my term to approach this very softly and practically to the homeowner.
Okay.
To, rather than barrage them with documents in the mail and scare them, quite frankly, on what is going on. Because it's, to me as an engineer, it's obviously very necessary for the public good and for public safety, and it's a very minimal, in my opinion, encroachment on what the homeowner might perceive is or is not their property. So I like to approach it from, dare I say, a non-political engineering standpoint rather than a political standpoint at first, with a barrage of documents from the borough attorney.
No, that's great. Maybe this is more the, this is too old, but the Andy Griffith Mayberry RFD
But
method.
we have to move quickly.
Rather than the legal method.
Yes, we do have to move quickly.
We have to move quickly,
Yeah.
and we have to move from 64,000 feet.
So you're guys
Things fall quickly from 64,000.
I'll give you the cinnamon rolls to take when you go visiting.
Any other questions?
Yeah, you mentioned, the only comment I have is you mentioned these properties and the appraisal and a value to it. I mean, we've asked this question for years. I don't know if we have that readily available for you, so I think you need to really drop down a couple thousand feet and figure that one out. Because I don't think, we've always said what's the appraisal, we'll buy the property, and we've never really gotten an answer on that, so I don't know.
Our assessor will assist in that.
Yeah, but we've never gotten it, so I don't know.
At that point, we didn't know what we had to buy.
But nobody could ever tell us who's gonna give it to us.
I think you'll be surprised.
It's not,
The assessor does it?
yeah, the assessor does it.
And if the assessor does
I don't know,
it,
we've asked, we've never gotten it, so.
Well, we never had the square footage.
They don't just throw it out, they have to be specific.
Is it based on-
Sometimes,
Is it based on just the physical square foot, or is it truly a market impact?
it's market. You know, you have the.
It's a combination of things, I
That has
can tell you.
the keys to the kingdom, he's gonna want more than, 12.18 cents.
They usually use three methods. One is the brick and mortar, one is comparable sales, and I don't remember what the other is.
That's just regular appraisal stuff.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is
regular
That-
appraisal.
But this is not a regular appraisal stuff, yeah.
Okay.
That's for appraisal purposes.
So once Mr. Yakimic determines what the size of the taking is, then he'll have to give that to our assessor, and they'll come up with what he thinks or she thinks is a fair market number. We'll present that offer, they'll probably counter, and we'll have to make a decision as a council whether we're gonna accept the counter or fight him. That's what it boils down to.
That is correct.
And more than likely, we will be fighting, so.
Negotiation. We'll negotiate.
Negotiations, that's right.
Anything else, for Mr. Yakimic? Time being.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yakimic.
Thank you very much.
You're fully engaged with the emergency service building?
Not yet, Mr. Ullman, and the architect just asked me to change something in my proposal. So I'll do that tomorrow morning and change it and give it to Mr. Toto. So thankfully, I'm not fully engaged because he made another change. So,
I can't believe that. Thank you.
Under ordinances and legislation, ordinance providing for alternate members of the planning board, draft ordinance number 19-16 for review. Mr. Pollard, would you like to discuss this?
Okay, yes. This is an ordinance to provide for alternates for the planning board. You know, we have alternates for the zoning board, and in all the years, we've never had the need for any alternates on the planning board, but in the latest situation that we have with the pending application, some conflicts and so forth have reduced the number of people. So all this does is statute provides for the ability to appoint 2 alternates, and this is what it does.
So this would replace the 2 council members?
It's not replacing anything.
Oh, we're adding.
This is alternates.
Okay.
They'll function in the absence of somebody else.
Okay.
Either not,
So it's simple, exactly like zoning board?
Exactly like zoning.
So if somebody doesn't show up and they're there, they sit in?
And they have to, and they have to listen to tapes if it's an application and so on and so forth, so.
And I don't have the code in front of me, but Class 4 is what?
It is the last class that the mayor appoints. It's just plain
Citizens.
any citizens.
And are all our seats filled at the moment,
They are not, we just had one resignation.
aside from that one? Do we have the employee?
Yes.
Who is that?
Who's the
Scuderi.
employee?
Scuderi.
Dan Scuderi, Director of DMF.
That's the class 2.
And we could do this?
You could do it.
Is it governed by the town or state?
State statute authorizes it. If you don't pass an ordinance, you can't do it, but the state statute authorizes it.
It allows you to set up a board.
So is this something we should do, Mr.
Yes,
Fowler,
definitely.
immediately, or
I
can we
think you should
wait?
do it immediately because the way I have it figured, you have a planning board
Can I do it
meeting.
now in
Yeah.
conference agenda, or do I have to come out? Because you gave me a sample.
You're not coming out of anything.
Explanation why.
First of all,
Continue, please.
yeah, the planning board is meeting at the end of July, there's one meeting, and then the next meeting is going to be, I think, at the end of August. So what I'd like to see is this being introduced tonight, and then being passed at the August meeting, which will be before the planning board. So
If
that
there is one.
Yeah, if there isn't, I knew that there was supposed to be one, I don't know if there's going to be one,
I
but, you know.
thought there was a meeting at the beginning of August
I thought
after
there
the
was
meeting
some
at the end of July. Peter, do you remember?
It always depends what's on the agenda for any given,
Okay.
yeah, I think it's the 24th too, yeah.
24th is one meeting.
Does their position infer promotion in the event of a resignation?
No, it doesn't work that way. These are terms.
So it's the same as zoning. They'd
It's
have
the same as
to
zoning.
resign as alternates and apply to be full members if they
Yeah,
were.
well, if they were doing that, if they were already on, but we're looking for alternates.
No, just thinking of the process we went through for zoning, I just want to make sure
Right.
it's
Right.
consistent.
Yeah,
and
it's
it
gonna be the
is.
same way, handled the same way. And you can introduce it tonight, you know, our notice always is that action could be taken at our conference sessions, we're in
Okay.
public, so you can introduce it.
So let me read this really quick, gentlemen. It says,
Just wait one second. You know, we always talk about an ordinance, it's important, you have to discuss it, you need some time to digest it. Now, all of a sudden, we're getting this, no disrespect to Mr. Pollard, that it's got to be done tonight.
No,
Yeah, wait a second, Ken. Every time as well, we got to take a couple minutes to discuss this in a meeting, to look it over and get different sites. So tell me the reason why. Is it because there's one particular thing in front of the planning board right now there's an issue with?
Yes.
Because I'm unaware of it, so I want to be aware
Okay, so there is-
why it has to be done immediately and in an emergent fashion.
Okay, so number one, I specifically did not put this on the public portion with an introduction. That's the first thing I didn't do. I said, put it on the conference agenda so that we could discuss it.
Right.
If they want to move it, so let me just get that
Okay,
out of the
well,
way.
that's-
So I followed my procedure, I did not tell Sue to put it on.
Okay, but that's usually how
I'm
you
just-
guide us,
No, I'm
right?
just saying, so that's how I did it.
Okay.
And the reason for it is that we have the Viviato application is pending before the planning board.
Right.
And we have 2 conflict situations, which
Okay.
reduces the people. And we also have somebody who resigned, so we're down to it's a 9-member board, there's 3 people that are out, they only got 6 people.
Okay.
So alternates bulk it up to
Right.
at least a reasonable number of people, so that they have a reasonable chance to have a vote and whatever, do what they're gonna do. That's still,
Is there a minimal number that you have to have for quorum with that board, Ken?
It's a majority, it's a majority.
Just a majority, so you can have 9, so you need 5, and we're at 6.
I mean, they meet, I'm just saying that they don't have the complement of number of people is what the point is. That's the point. You're missing 3 people off of there, which is,
Right.
three opinions, it's three people. And it is a big application, as you know, there's a lawsuit on it. So for the protective reasons of having more of a full board, it would be good.
I'm saying, that right now, the board, it consists of 9. You need 5 5 for quorum, right, in total. We only have 6 if one resign and 2 are recusing themselves, I guess, for lack of a better word. Is that what they're doing?
We have 9, we started with 9.
Right.
9.
Right.
2 are conflicted and 1 resigned. Now you're down to 6.
We're down to 6, right, so for a
That's it,
quorum-
total 6, you got total 6.
You got total of 6, you need 5 for a quorum for the board, that's how it works, total quorum? Okay. Now I understand. Gotcha. I mean,
Now,
on those,
and it's been requested by the planning board attorney, who's handling the planning board, representing the planning board, he requested on numerous occasions to get alternates in if there's going to be this conflict situation. He says,
Peter, is there a lot of absenteeism on the board when you meet?
Generally not, but, you can never control people's
Well, I'm just saying,
circumstances and what's, but generally.
You go, I don't.
Yeah, generally not.
Okay. Again, if it follows the zoning board and it's like, I have no problem with it whatsoever at this point. And since we do have these applications coming up and we have some conflicts, I don't see an issue with it at this point. So, that being said, I normally don't push anything through this quick, but you got me on a good day.
Gentlemen, I respectfully suggest to you that this is more of a, I think the expression I picked up in court was housekeeping action rather than rushing something through for the sake of rushing it through. It's something that needs to be done to straighten things out and help clarify things. I think it's housekeeping.
Okay.
We've had a planning board for how many years?
Well, this is the first time that we've had this kind of a situation.
Okay, well, so. Could we be accused of spot ordinancing?
You mean like spot zoning?
Maybe go to packing the court analogy more than the spot zoning maybe, but no, you're allowed to do it. You're allowed to put people on, and the statute allows it, and you're doing it. I mean, and you do have it for your zoning board. It just so happens that we have never had a problem, and nobody ever raised it because we never had a problem. The zoning board, we have had problems, and so we've had the alternates, and that's worked fine. The people have been, doing well with that. This is just something that has never come up before, and usually it wouldn't, except that we're dealing with conflicts, as opposed to somebody not showing up. Usually one doesn't show up, 2 doesn't show up, but now you got 2 conflicts and then people not showing up. Now you got all of a sudden a big hole. You're down to, a small amount of people.
I think the interesting thing is, though, we have some big planning board issues. And when the seat fillers come in, you might want to call them that. Are they going to be really up to snuff with what's happening to vote?
Well, they can't be, they have to review the transcripts, they have to certify to it. I mean, they can't just come in and say,
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to vote on it. They have to do their homework, so. And actually, I think another reason why it would be a good time is that if you remember, there's been so much procedural jockeying around with the application that I think the testimony hasn't even come in yet in terms of...
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, so...
No, but Mr. Viviano has died.
Well, no, I know that, but,
Okay.
well, no, I mean, the testimony has, I mean, the testimony hasn't started substantively, so this would be a good time for an
We're still
alternate
in
to be in
public,
there.
right?
Yeah. Mr. Pollard, can I ask, what are the conflicts with the 2 members?
Yeah, okay.
Because I don't understand.
Yeah, the conflicts are, do you remember the lawyer who came up here who argued that you should not sign the application, should not let the application proceed before the planning board? Right?
Vaguely, but yes, okay.
Okay, so his argument is that because the project involves the conveyance of a piece of property that's owned by the town,
Okay.
that the mayor, who has a seat on the planning board, has a conflict because he's representing a property owner in the project. because he's the mayor of the town and the property is part of the project. Now,
Gotcha.
is that a real conflict? Is it not a conflict? You know, conflicts are a matter of,
Perception, sure.
well, and degree and that kind of stuff, so that's one conflict. The other conflict is one of the council representative. Is this all right to say? Okay, was involved.
What's happened has happened.
In a legal matter where the lawyer for the applicant was on the other side. So
Just run that by me one more time.
the council member,
Right,
was involved in a lawsuit
right.
which involved the attorney for the applicant.
Gotcha.
So he
Okay.
said that that's a conflict. Another,
Another stretch of the imagination.
yeah,
Okay.
there's a lot of, there was claims of other conflicts too. but,
Okay.
You know,
All
let's
right.
not even get into all.
That helps, thank you.
And I'm not ruling on those conflicts, but.
No, just,
but the
I want to be
planning
aware of what
the
the...
Planning board attorney's made this recommendation.
Well, the planning board attorney's done, done what he has, and I think there's been votes on the planning board about it too, or whatever it is,
Okay.
that's where it's at.
All right. I was unaware of those issues, so.
All right.
So we're not allowed to go to the planning board.
You're allowed to go, you're not allowed to speak.
Wouldn't even want to go.
You don't want to go.
I got other things to do.
Gentlemen,
Thank you
does
very
anybody
much.
want to make a motion to introduce and pass ordinance number 19-16, which is an ordinance providing for alternate members of the planning board of the Township of Washington at first reading by title?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Bruno.
What happened to the all in favor, I think?
Everyone, well, no, we need to vote because people have to abstain,
Okay, yes.
right, Mr. Paul?
No, actually, this one, they don't have to.
You don't want to abstain?
No, the reason for it is this has to do with the organization of the
Okay.
planning board. There's
Let's just
nothing
take a
to do-
vote really quick, Mr. Bruno.
Yeah.
Yes.
You say yes, Mr. Bruno, next?
Yes. Councilman Cassio.
You know what? I'll tell you what, we're gonna do, hold on one second, hold on. You know what? Why don't you abstain?
That's why I thought you wanted,
You
yeah.
don't have to, but you know
Moi?
what? I would say just abstain.
Moi?
Yes.
Yeah, if you'll indulge me, just.
You need a,
Oh, do you think
Just a
that would be
majority?
apropos?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Just
Next,
take my
Mr.
recommendation.
Cummings?
Yeah, the ghost of P.D. Padavano is over my life. Right, right.
Councilman Cummings.
Abstain. Abstain?
Abstain.
Councilman Ullman.
Dissolve.
Yes.
And Council President.
Yes. Resolution number 19-2.
was anyone going to ask me, or do I get left out in the
Yeah, what
lurch?
about?
See, you threw you off. I'm sorry,
Cassio.
Because I asked.
Cassio.
And what
Because I'm
about-
going to abstain.
And what did Mr. Bruno say? He said yes too? Yes.
Why are you going to
Okay.
abstain?
Resolution number 19,
Abstain.
resolution number 19-245, authorizing publication of ordinance number 19-16 and schedule a public hearing. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved. Second. Aye.
Roll call.
Who's second, I'm sorry?
Mr. Bruno, second.
Thank you.
Yes.
Councilman Bruno.
Yes.
Councilman Cassio.
Yes.
Councilman Cummings.
Yes.
Councilman Ullman.
No, wait,
Yes.
wait. Am I supposed to abstain?
Yes, you can say yes. Say yes.
Councilman Allen?
You want to
Yes.
schedule a public
And
hearing?
Council President
Yes.
Senate.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Allman, you had asked about the hiring promotion ordinance for the police department to be put on the conference agenda?
Yeah, so, I had asked about this, a number of months ago, and, was told it was gonna be, part of the reviews that were being done, or policies that were being, reworked. And I guess my question is, if we don't have a current promotions policy, how are we promoting individuals? Like, what is the process? I know there's a recommendation that's made. I believe it's by the chief and the director to the mayor. But is there a process behind that that is documented? Do we have the ability as council to understand what that process is? Because it was my understanding that we don't have a current one. We may have something that may not be used or may be used. So, you know, how does this happen?
My understanding, Mike, is the process that they've had to date has withstood a number of court challenges by officers in the past who felt that that things didn't go their way, let's say in a promotional process. So it has stood up to a couple of court challenges in the past that the process is legitimate as far as what it is. I think the words that are generally used are merit and fitness, that are the backbone of the promotional process, that the chief and the director know those two criteria for all of the officers, and based on that, you know, please don't quote me 100% because I don't want to, you know, speak out of turn for the promotion process. As you know, for obvious reasons, I try and distance myself from the promotional process. But that those are the two main criteria. There may be some others that I'm not familiar with offhand. And so based on those couple of criteria, they decide who is going to be promoted.
Okay. So I appreciate that the process may have withstood the litigation hurdle. I don't know if that makes it a good process. It just makes it a process where if we get sued, we're protected.
Sorry, if I can interrupt you real quick. We did talk about revising the process. However, the consensus was that another round of promotions will probably take place when the chief is forced out because of his age, which is the end of October. To change a process and not give the rank and file who would be considered for promotions enough time to adapt to a new promotional process, like one I'll take offhand, probably, you know, it doesn't fit exactly, but let's say right now we don't insist on college, and then in this, if we redo it now, we say college is part of it. Well, 3 or 4 months from now doesn't give people an opportunity to make those adjustments. So the consensus was after this next round of promotions, there will probably be a drought of a couple years before the next round, and that whoever the new chief is should have input on that process. And so the process would be reviewed by the new chief and whoever else after the next round, and that way the people have time to gear up and say, all right, this is the new criteria, now I know what I have to gear myself for if I want to be considered for a promotion.
And as a council, we still have the ability to pass an ordinance if the council so should elect.
Defer to Ken on that one.
Do you actually have conversation with the director? Is he really involved?
He is at this level, yes.
So he recommends, he hasn't been involved with the day-to-day operations, all right?
Day-to-day operations, no, he is not, but he's here enough, talks to the chief, talks to the officers.
I mean, he didn't participate in the budget, either the preparation or our discussions.
That's correct, but at this, you know, Mr. Bruno asked me if he's involved at this level. He does keep up with the officers, he does talk to the chief about, you know, officers in general, and so between them, they are, you know, up on the criteria.
Here's the thing, right now, we're gonna have a gap, right? And you have to fill those gaps through the promotional process. And I think if, you know, as a council or a future council, this council wants to maybe draft an ordinance to, clarify those areas of fitness and merit, we could do that if we so choose. But the problem is, we have a timeline. Even if we passed an ordinance quickly, it probably wouldn't get, meet that timeline for the chief retiring, I would think, Mike.
Well,
But I agree
I
that
guess-
something should be, more in stone than just fitness and merit. That's a,
I mean, I could
that's
go
a very
back,
broad, that's a very broad stroke.
I could go back to the minutes. I mean, I brought this up, I'm guessing almost a year ago,
You did, yes.
and, asked for the director
Criteria.
and for the chief to come and speak to us, and was stonewalled, and stonewalled, and stonewalled, and we've had promotion upon promotion, and, was asked, we brought something in from Wayne, who, for discussion, was asked to table it. We're still promoting. I mean, so, I don't know. To your point, is fitness and merit and the process that we don't get sued or we can successfully defend ourselves, is that enough?
I don't know what, again, I'm not in that realm. I don't know what fitness and merit is, but I would think there would be, maybe some more elaboration on what that might be.
Well, that's the mayor, he
Well, I don't know if he knows what the criteria is. He just gets a recommendation, right?
You approve it.
I'm sorry, Steve, I didn't hear
You
what
just
you
get the
said.
recommendation. You don't see what the,
Correct.
how they measure
But don't you
their
approve it?
measurement for it.
Don't you approve it?
I approve it.
So if you're approving something, you have to know what it is you're approving, right?
No, I trust the people that are making the recommendation.
Well, so they recommend and say, we want this, and you say, okay, great, without reviewing the file and
because
the
just-
fitness and everything else that's involved?
Because just like, I don't monitor them on a day-to-day basis, and so what criteria would I put in to second-guess their direct supervisors who are
My
making?
question was, do you review the file to say, the fitness, the review, here's the person, here's what they did, you look at the attendance records, you look at all that and say, okay,
I
great?
have a chief and a director that do that.
So you don't do it?
I don't micromanage
So you
them.
just say yes?
I don't micromanage them.
Right, you just say yes?
I approve it
Okay. So
based
that's
on
it.
their recommendation.
So there's no policy, there's no procedure?
There is a policy and procedure.
And I
It's
don't
called
think
fitness and merit.
Do we have it in writing?
I believe it's in the ordinance.
What ordinance?
Mr. Tove, is that something that we're
Promotional
working on?
ordinance.
I'm sorry.
What?
The promotional ordinance. No.
We have a promotional ordinance?
Is there an SOP on that, Mr. Tove?
No, hold on a minute. Do we have a promotional ordinance, Ken?
No.
Oh, so why
Okay,
are you
sorry.
saying we have an ordinance?
My mistake.
I think it's-
Oh, sorry, I made a mistake, Mr. Bruno.
It's so comical, Peter, you know, it's
Yeah,
not
but
transparent.
At least I came prepared to
Transparent.
tonight's meeting, and I didn't say I didn't get a chance to read
Be
the stuff.
transparent and say what you're really gonna say, instead of trying to dance
All
around
right,
it.
you put words
please.
in my mouth, say what I'm gonna say.
Mr. Tovo, is there something that we're working on with the SOPs
right
for
back
that?
at
Is
you.
that part of the SOP process?
Gentlemen, please.
He's the mayor, he's approving things and doesn't know what he's approving.
Right.
Says he's according to the salary, the promotion ones, we don't even have one.
I made a mistake.
Mr. Tovo?
Mr.
in the
Tove,
SO
questions for you.
In the SOP?
We're
Is that
currently
something we're working on, or is that something that's there that we're refining?
There's over 100 model policies that we're working on. I've converted about 50 of them so far, but, we start from the beginning, which is how a directive system operates, the establishment of your rules and regulations, and you build towards the bigger, more intense policies like promotions, internal affairs, so forth. So as I convert them, they go to PD for review and
There's
tweaking.
50 of them converted, you said, right?
That I've converted. Then they have to do their review and change things that might be unique to Washington or maybe even the county. So we are working on those in sections at a time. My rate of conversion will be faster than theirs, so this is new to them.
And my question is, right now, in our SOPs, what exists anywhere in documentation, does it have a protocol other than just a recommendation from the director and the chief? Is there a criteria?
To the best of my knowledge, that's all it does say. It's based on the
Okay.
recommendation by the chief and the director.
That's all I was
To the
asking.
mayor.
Okay, thank you. And I'm sure we're going to get to that somewhere down the line, right?
And I have to say, I'm tired of hearing, Mr. Ullman, that you feel you were stonewalled. The one conversation we had about this, you mentioned a particular person's name. I can say that factually. And that's when I said, you're getting close to a Rice notice, and I dropped it at that point. So I did not stonewall, and I told you that. I said, you're talking about a specific person, and, you know, they should be Rice noticed. So I did not stonewall the process.
Asking about the process that they go through,
But did you not mention a person's name?
I did. I gave it as an example of where I thought the process failed. But I was not questioning. I was asking what their process was to reach that conclusion.
Once an employee's name is mentioned, we're in Rice notice territory, in my opinion.
And you're welcome to your opinion.
So would you like to make a motion, Mr. Ullman, Mr. Bruno, to adopt an ordinance to change?
I was just asking.
Okay, no, are we?
I just like to clarify with Mr. Tovo, that's an SOP that we're going to be working on. Is that correct?
Correct, this will be about a year-long process.
Okay.
So it will not happen before the next round of promotions, which is scheduled after the chief.
I mean, honestly, not mentioning names or anything, but technically, if the chief resigns, the people that are in their positions, without moving to chief and moving everybody up, can still actively run the town before.
Well, we'd have to name an acting chief.
You can name an acting chief, but you don't have to go all these rounds of promotions. You can still do something and then evaluate.
No, our table of command tells us what we need, Doc. So we can't.
Where's your table of command?
That is in the ordinance.
That is in the ordinance. There is a table of command in the ordinance. That does exist.
But I'm
Table of
saying,
ranks.
it does-
Table of organization.
A table of organization, I'm sorry.
Does it say like immediately you have to replace everybody?
No, but it says you can only have X amount of these people, X amount of these people,
No, I
X amount of those
understand
people. So like the last round of promotions was necessitated because there was not enough room to bring in a new officer for the one that resigned.
But it's like a CEO that leaves a company, they don't go out and run and get a CEO the next day. They can operate with a COO and then run the company until they figure out what they're doing. That's my point. Right?
I understand what you're saying,
Right,
but
that's what I'm
if
saying.
we
That's
have,
all I'm saying.
but I'd like to just, go a little bit further on that is if you have competent people, like, we promote, like the SLEO that just was promoted, right? He or she was promoted to that position because we did our due diligence with them, they worked for us, and in order for them to get promoted, we had to move people up to create that spot for the resignation. So we have competent people in our organization, so are you saying that we should look outside the organization and disqualify somebody that's been with us for 20, 25 years?
Well, it's interesting.
Because they should be the next person? That's the question I'm asking.
No, I'm not saying anything. What I'm saying is there should be a process, but to that point, actually, in the budget meeting, Dr. Cassio said we actually should go with the police chief from outside the town so that it's not somebody that's here. Those were his words, to be honest with you.
They were my words, and that's...
No, I'm just saying, those were your words. So
Yeah,
that's
those are my words.
But that's how you felt about it, that we should go outside and bring somebody from the outside
Listen,
in as a chief.
I'm always about getting the best person for the job, no matter where they come from.
We have talked about other departments. This is not exclusive to the police. We've discussed succession planning in the DMF. We have discussed finance and people who are there. So this is not exclusive to the police. It's just that the police occurs, there's no visibility to it from our perspective as a council.
So the only way that we would ever have visibility is to adopt an ordinance that gives us the visibility. So do we have enough people to pass that ordinance? I'm a no. However you gentlemen, the four of you feel, that's how you feel. And we can adopt one. But we can keep talking about this till we're blue in the face. But until we pass something that gives us the legs to do this, it's gonna be.
You're right.
In a cloak of darkness, because that's the way that's the way our ordinance is written, and it's done like the mayor described, by director and chief, and he just signs it. So if we want to change that, we need enough votes up here to pass an ordinance. I mean, that's what it boils down to.
Maybe it's not an ordinance on the process, but maybe it's an ordinance on council's involvement. I mean, I don't know if you can.
I don't know what we could do, but that's what I'm saying. Do we have enough votes up here to change the process, Mike? Because that's the only way you're going to eliminate the cloak of darkness, is to change the process. We can talk about it all we want. We know that there's, I would say in October, November, we're going to find out about another round of promotions. It's going to happen. It has to happen based on our table of organization. So if we want to change that, I'm not in favor of changing it. If you guys are in favor of changing it, let's put it on the agenda for next meeting. I mean, that's all I can tell you.
All right.
You can put it on
Right.
and talk about it. I'll put it on.
I'm in
You can
favor,
talk about it, we
I'm
can
in
talk
favor
about
of
it.
changing it. I'm all for it.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I read the audit report, you know, there's also a little comment, not to get into other things, but there's a, you know, there was a bank account open that, again, it's not even a question how, what, where, but no visibility to the council.
Yep.
Shame on us.
Yeah.
Shame on everybody else.
Okay. Dr. Cassidy, you have one last thing. I hope it's quick. Clark Field basketball court
Mr.
resurfacing.
Tovo, I gave you the contact information. You get a chance to contact that company?
I have not yet. Hopefully Ms. Reisling will have enough information to me this week where I can move to that.
Okay.
Next step.
That's all I have, so that was.
All right.
kind of-
Resolution number 19-244 to go into closed session for PBA negotiations, litigation involving Viviano and concerned neighbors, suit and COA. Motion to enter into closed session.
Just one clarification, is the litigation with Viviano and COA, are they two separate issues or is it one issue?
Yeah, two separate issues, but you can add on another suit involving, called MetLife.
MetLife?
MetLife.
MetLife.
MetLife, Metropolitan Life.
To include the Metropolitan Settlement.
Okay.
Okay. So moved.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Aye.
I don't want to take on.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All in favor, whenever you.
Go into closed, ladies and gentlemen. Public session. Can I have a motion to authorize the administrator to execute a memorandum of understanding subject to the approval as to form from the Special Labor Council for the police PBA negotiations?
So moved.
Do I have a second? I'll second it.
Second.
No,
You can.
I can't? Okay.
I'll second it.
Sorry.
Roll call.
Councilman Bruno?
Abstain.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Recuse.
Councilman Oman?
No.
Council President DeSena?
Yes.
So we have 2 yeses, 1 abstain, 1 recuse, and 1.
Okay, so now, just so you know, Bob, when you abstain, under our rules, an abstention is a vote with the majority.
Yeah.
Just so you're aware of
So
that.
should we do it again?
No, passed.
I just want you to know that.
That's a classic. I like you, Steve.
No, it passed.
When you did it the last time and abstained, you said, "Oh, let's vote again," so you can not abstain and say no.
It passed.
You guys are classics.
It passed. I don't know, that's the rule.
You guys are classics.
Did I do something wrong?
Yeah, you did. You just told me something that you did the last
Can I have a
time.
motion to go back into closed, please, gentlemen? Motion to go back into closed for the rest of the remaining items?
So moved.
In that case, I wish everyone a good evening.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Ray.
Second.
Good morning.
Say aye. Second. I'll second. Everyone say
Good
aye.
night, Mr.
Take care, bye-bye.
Okay.